Day 7 of the apocalypse. I crossed the entire city of Star Harbor just to bring life-saving supplies to my girlfriend. But she was on another man's arm, sneering as she watched me get kicked to the ground. She even stole away everything I'd risked my life to scavenge, then turned and climbed into a car, tossing back only one line. Goodbye. In your next life, try not to be so poor, so useless. What I didn't know was that this boundless hatred was about to completely rewrite my fate. Vroom, roar, the savage growl of an engine shattered the dead silence of the campus. A heavily modified off-road SUV came fishtailing in with arrogant swagger. It smashed through the abandoned cars blocking the road and skidded to a stop right below the girls' dormitory. The door swung open, and out stepped a young man with slicked-back hair and designer clothes. It was Derek, Star Harbor's famous rich second-generation heir. He leaned against the car door, a smug smirk on his lips, his eyes raking greedily over the building above. Then he shouted, "Maya, come on, let's go. My dad got inside intel. The safe zone's to the east. My car can make it through." His voice echoed across the empty campus, dripping with the kind of apocalypse-era entitlement that made your skin crawl. Come to think of it, in just 7 days, the world had become unrecognizable. A week ago, that eerie blood moon had appeared without warning. What followed was a massive, global mutation. Countless people collapsed without warning, then got back up, as bloodthirsty zombies. The world's order collapsed completely within a matter of dozens of hours. Worse still, a strange crimson mist began spreading around the city's outskirts. That red fog moved like a living thing, slowly contracting inward from the city's edges. Whatever it swallowed, human, animal, or zombie alike, would dissolve in absolute agony, reduced to a puddle of bloody pus. So the area inside the red fog's boundary became humanity's only safe zone. And a rare, lucky few awakened a power called a talent. Some gained superhuman strength. Others could control ice or fire. They became humanity's hope for survival. Just then, a window on the 3rd floor was flung open. My girlfriend, Maya, once hailed as the belle of the finance department, stuck her head out. The innocent look she used to wear was long gone. All that remained was terror and a raw hunger to survive. The moment she saw Derek's SUV, her eyes lit up with wild joy, and she rushed down the stairs shouting, "Derek, wait for me. I'm coming down right now." She didn't even glance at me, standing in the shadows below. The boyfriend who'd stood guard all night, covered head to toe in black zombie blood. Once, she and I had been the envy of the whole university. But the good times didn't last. My parents died in an accident. To support myself and her, I dropped out of school and became an auto mechanic. Days spent under cars covered in grease, nights delivering food until dawn. Every cent I saved went toward her makeup and designer bags. The day the apocalypse hit, I was working overtime at the auto shop. The moment I got her distress message, I raced back with everything I had. From the west side of the city to the east, I crossed the entirety of Star Harbor. Just half an hour ago, fighting to grab her a single bottle of water, I'd nearly been tackled by 2 zombies. My arm still burned with pain. On my back was a bulging backpack, stained with filth, packed with precious supplies I'd risked my life countless times to scavenge. A few bottles of water, some compressed biscuits, a few cans of meat. Seeing her about to leave, I called out hoarsely, "Maya, don't trust him. There are more zombies out there, in the red fog. That junk heap of his won't make it through. Come with me. I have a plan." My plan was actually simple. I knew the city's back alleys and terrain. And I had a bicycle, hidden away, beat up but still rideable. This was the most practical path to survival someone at the bottom like me could come up with. But Maya had already run down the stairs with her small bag, and she paused, looking at me. Her eyes were cold, full of disgust, dripping with undisguised contempt. She opened her mouth and cut me down. "Ethan, don't be naive. This is the apocalypse. Derek has a C-tier talent. He's a real power now. You've got no money, no strength. What can you do besides wait to die? Everyone knows it's better to laugh in the car than cry on a bicycle." With that, she hurried to Derek's side and hooked her arm through his, intimate and familiar. She pressed her chest against him on purpose, her voice sickly sweet. "Derek, I knew you'd come save me." Derek shot me a smug glance, wrapped an arm around her waist, and kissed her. "Good girl. Get in." Then his gaze swept over my backpack, and a flicker of greed crossed his face. "Oh, picked up some good junk, huh? Maya, that's perfect for you. Go grab it." Maya didn't hesitate for a second. She closed the distance in a few steps and reached for the backpack I clutched tight against my chest. "Hand it over. Useless piece of trash. Don't waste Derek's time." Her nails dug into the back of my hand, drawing blood. My rage finally ignited, and I snarled. Are you out of your damn mind? Let go. This wasn't just supplies. This was everything I'd bled for, my entire hope of survival. Seeing this, Derek came storming over, cursing, ungrateful piece of. Before he even finished, he drove his foot into my stomach. I was sent flying. That was no ordinary human strength. Ugh, the agony curled me up like a shrimp instantly. The sheer force sent me stumbling, and I fell, the backpack flying out of my grip. Maya seized the moment and snatched the bag, not even sparing me a glance. Like a lapdog that just got a bone, she held it up to him like an offering. Derek here? It's all good stuff. Derek weighed the bag in his hand, smiled with satisfaction, and tossed it casually into the back seat. Then he pulled her close and looked down at me from above. That look, contemptuous, like he was staring at an ant he could crush anytime he wanted. Kid, remember this. In this world, being weak is the original sin. No money, no power, no strength. You're a piece of shit. Trash like you is only fit to be an appetizer for the zombies out there. Or wait around to be dissolved into pus by the red fog. Maya, get in. Let this guy fend for himself, huh? Maya nestled into his embrace like a delicate little bird, dripping with mockery and satisfaction, as if she'd finally shed a heavy, humiliating burden she'd been carrying. Before leaving, she tossed a few more careless words my way. Ethan, I know this is a little cruel of me. All these years you only gave money, but what I gave was my youth. Goodbye. In your next life, try not to be so poor, so useless. With that, she swayed her hips and climbed into the warm car. The engine roared again, tires kicking up dust as the car sped off. Boundless humiliation, the searing pain of betrayal, the despair of the apocalypse. It all crashed over me at once. The agony in my stomach was completely drowned out by an overwhelming tide of hatred. Why? 3 years of genuine devotion, and it couldn't outweigh one SUV? Why? I'd guarded her with my life, and all I got back was a kick and a sneer. What gave them the right? I fought to survive, and still got trampled into the mud like dirt. This hatred surged straight to my head, like it was going to blow my skull apart. A force from somewhere deep in my soul began crashing wildly through my body. Watching the zombie my shouting had drawn, I hissed through gritted teeth. I'm tired. Just end it. Hurry up. Before I even finished, a hum. That eerie red sun in the sky seemed to respond, suddenly firing down a pillar of light. It engulfed me completely, wrapped in what looked like madness. Then, a cold, mechanical voice rang out in my mind. Extreme destructive will and boundless hatred detected. Meets highest binding requirements. SSS tier unique talent. Fortress heart. Activation successful. The searing pain receded like a retreating tide, replaced by an inexplicable sense of control. I understood instantly what that voice meant. A talent had awakened. A talent. This is the power of a talent. I struggled, half sitting up from the ground. The zombie drawn by the earlier commotion was already swaying its rotting body toward me, snarling. Its movements were stiff but not slow. Half its face was gone. If I've awakened a talent, that means I've become one of that rare lucky few too. 7 days into the apocalypse, information hadn't completely dried up. Piecing together fragments from Spotify's signal and the Survivor forum, I'd gotten a rough grasp of this world's brutal rules. 80% of the global population had turned into zombies outright. Of the remaining 20%, nearly half had died in this hellish week from starvation, hunting, and the red fog. 1 in 10 survived. And among the humans who remained, not everyone had what it took to fight back against doomsday. Only a small few could awaken a talent, and only by achieving a first kill against a zombie. On my way here, I'd used the terrain to take down a lone zombie. I'd barely survived that, and gotten nothing but exhaustion and fear for my trouble. At the time, I figured it was just bad luck, but only now did I recall a theory from some obscure corner of the forum. True awakening might not depend on the first kill at all. Extreme despair and boundless hatred. Those are the real key that unlocks your potential. That was it. When I'd ambushed that zombie, all I felt was fear and the survival instinct, nowhere near extreme. But just now, my girlfriend's betrayal, the rich kid's humiliation, my supplies stolen, surrounded by zombies with no way out. When all that negativity converged, it triggered the Blood Moon's response and activated my talent. And it was SSS tier. I quickly recalled a glimpse I'd caught of the talent trending thread. Talent tiers, from low to high, went F, E, D, C, B, A, S. In theory, the higher the tier, the more skills, the stronger the effects. EF was the level of most awakened. CD was already core squad material. AB was strong enough to dominate a region. An S tier? Across the whole country, an estimated fewer than 100 people. A C tier talent already counted as elite. Someone like Derek awakening C tier explained why he was so arrogant. As for anything above S tier, no one had ever reliably confirmed its existence. And what I'd awakened was a talent no one had ever even heard of, SSS tier, Fortress Heart. Cold streams of information poured in like a moment of enlightenment, burning themselves into the depths of my consciousness. Talent. Fortress Heart. SSS tier. Level 1. Metal control. Touch a metal structure barehanded to instantly understand its composition and dismantle it, gaining fortress points. Vehicle upgrade. Consume fortress points to upgrade and modify a bound vehicle, no blueprints required. 5 upgrade paths. Armor, firepower, mobility, survival, expansion. I understood almost all of it instantly. SSS tier. And a growth-type talent. This was basically a god-tier artifact for surviving the apocalypse. Especially for me, a mechanical engineering honors student turned auto mechanic. This power might as well have been custom-made. Dismantling cars barehanded, modifying them with pure will, building my own personal mobile war fortress. A fortress, unbreakable, packing serious firepower, a moving stronghold, instantly took shape in my mind. 100 men no match for one S tier? In front of my SSS tier, they were all cannon fodder. Derek, Maya, you think driving some beat-up SUV means you've already won? My journey is just getting started. First, I've got a problem in front of me to deal with. My eyes narrowed, and I forced down the urge to chase after them right then and there. The priority now was getting familiar with this new power, staying alive, and getting stronger. Facing the approaching zombie, I spun around abruptly. Summoning the last of my strength, I sprinted up to the 3rd floor in a few strides and slammed the door shut, locking it behind me. Outside, the zombie's snarling was temporarily muffled. This place was safe for now, and better yet, it had metal materials. The dorm room was a mess, clothes and makeup scattered everywhere. The air still carried a trace of the perfume Maya always wore, but now it just made me sick. Huff, huff. I leaned against the door, breathing hard, not from exhaustion, but from excitement. My gaze finally settled on the common steel-frame bunk bed. Let's start with you, I said, striding over to the bed and pressing my right hand against the cold steel frame. A strange pulse traveled from my palm into my brain, and the cold steel transformed into a transparent model in my perception. Decomposable target detected. Decompose. Decompose. I willed it. Centered on my palm, the steel frame began silently breaking apart, dissolving into faint light that flowed into my body. Within 15 seconds, the whole bed frame had vanished, leaving only the wooden bedboard clattering to the floor. Decomposition successful. Fortress points gained, 15. Proficiency gained, 15. First-time decomposition bonus. Metal manipulation armament unlocked. A layer of invisible metal film appeared beneath my skin. Armament. My spirits lifted, and I checked it immediately. It could massively increase skin toughness and boost defense. I tried it right away, clenching my right fist and focusing my will. A matte metallic coating instantly covered my whole hand and forearm. I swung a punch at the tin cabinet nearby. A dull thud, and a small dent appeared. My fist barely registered the impact. With this skill, taking on 1 or 2 ordinary zombies in close combat wasn't out of the question anymore. Keep going. I set my sights on the remaining bed frames, planning to decompose every metal object in the room. I sneered, turned toward the lower bunk, and was about to decompose it. Thump! A pinkish-purple silicone cylinder rolled out from under the pillow and hit my foot. Beside it lay a few torn wrappers, printed with words like ultra-thin, long-lasting vibration. I stared at the thing, and remembered Maya, red-faced, once nestled in my arms, saying, "I want to save my most precious first time for our wedding night." Disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. I said coldly, and kept decomposing the bed frame. I gained 15 fortress points, bringing the total to 30 out of 100. The tin wardrobe. Decompose. After 8 seconds, the main body vanished, leaving only a pile of clothes. Gained 8 points, total 38/100. The aluminum window frame. Decompose. The frame disappeared, cold wind rushing in. Gained 5 points, total 43/100. Door locks, hinges, the metal washbasin stand. Every piece of metal I could find became my fuel. When the metal clothes hanger dissolved into nothing, I finally hit a level up notice. Fortress Heart level up. LV1 to LV2. Metal control. Decomposition speed increased 20%. New feature unlocked. Vehicle scan. Special modification. Leveled up. I perked up and checked immediately. Vehicle scan. Touching a vehicle automatically reveals its model, condition, and core component status. Special modification allows identification of special materials for use in vehicle modification. Good stuff. This ability would be crucial for finding and binding my starting vehicle. By now there was no more sizable metal left in the room. My point sat at 102, level LV2. Growl. I instinctively pressed a hand to my stomach, brows furrowing. I'd just refueled with food and water not long ago. My energy reserves shouldn't be draining this fast. So this is the price of using the talent. Better use it sparingly. Outside the door, the zombies clawing and snarling grew more frantic. Perfect. I'll test my blade on you and clear the path while I'm at it. I unlocked the door and yanked it open. The zombie in the security guard uniform, driven by its own momentum, lunged straight in, its hideous claws going for my face. My core snapped taut, and my right arm, covered in armament, swung out like a sledgehammer. Bang, crack. My fist landed square on the zombie's face, and its skull caved in and shattered instantly. The zombie was sent flying like a torn sack, hit the wall, twitched twice, and went completely still. The whole thing took less than 3 seconds. Phew, decent power, but the cost isn't cheap either. Close combat has a big advantage, but I need to end fights fast. I need to bind a vehicle as soon as possible to avoid unnecessary melee entanglements. After the fight, hunger hit even harder. I didn't linger. I headed straight downstairs to the cafeteria. With the red fog closing in, everyone here had already evacuated, and there weren't many zombies left either. Sure enough, the cafeteria's front doors had been violently forced open, tables and chairs overturned. Only a few zombie corpses remained, along with some contaminated, inedible food. Damn it, nothing left to eat. With that hope dashed, my mood soured further. Guess I'll have to pin my hopes on the parking lot. There were plenty of vehicles parked there. Maybe I'd find some overlooked food, and more importantly, a vehicle. The parking lot situation wasn't much better either. Many windows had been smashed, doors left hanging open. Clearly, someone had already searched it. Vehicle scan. I focused and activated the newly unlocked ability. Walking up to what looked like an intact black SUV, information flooded into my mind. Engine piston rings cracked, fuel tank nearly empty, left front suspension deformed. I couldn't help but curse. Damn, this is basically a rolling coffin. If I'd had this ability back when I was fixing cars, seeing every flaw at a glance, I'd have been a master mechanic long ago. Reality was staring me in the face. I needed a car that was tough, fuel efficient, and had enough space. I bit back my impatience and moved through the parking lot despite my hunger. One sedan had a wrecked chassis. One electric car's battery was bulging. Neither would start. A tiny elderly mobility scooter was intact and fuel efficient, but the space was too small, basically a tin can on wheels. An SUV was in good condition, but its fuel economy was a pitiful 9 miles per gallon. A gas guzzler. Can't afford to run it. Just as I was about to give up, a glint out of the corner of my eye caught an unremarkable car tucked in the corner of the lot. A boxy body, a plain, unpretentious design. The nation's beloved workhorse, a Wuling Hongguang minivan. Ah, this. I stopped in my tracks and approached it with my last shred of hope. A hum. Information flooded in, and my eyes lit up instantly. Battery depleted, half a tank of fuel remaining. Fuel economy up to 34 miles per gallon. Extremely efficient. Engine running well. Chassis intact. No deformation. No way. It really is the nation's favorite car. I nearly shouted out loud. Tough, fuel efficient, plenty of space. It fit every requirement perfectly. A dead battery was a minor issue. As long as the 3 core components were healthy, it could run. This plain, unassuming body in front of me now blazed with the most brilliant light in my eyes. This wasn't just a minivan. This was the perfect embryo for a future mobile war fortress. You're the one. I took a deep breath and pressed my right hand to the hood. Finding successful, absolute control over this vehicle acquired. With a thought, I willed, unlock. A click, and the central locking system popped open. I pulled the door open, and a mix of dust, motor oil, and tobacco smell hit me. I climbed straight into the driver's seat and quickly checked the interior. The back seats had already been folded down, forming a decent-sized cargo space. Inside was a jumble of shovels, wrenches, nylon rope, a small generator, and a few empty fuel cans. A construction cruise car? No wonder it wasn't looted. I understood immediately. The people fleeing in a panic were after food, medicine, and weapons. Who'd bother hauling off heavy tools like these? Which worked out in my favor. Just then, out of the corner of my eye, I spotted an unopened case of bottled water next to the generator. Beside it was a bulging plastic bag. I practically lunged for it. Over 20 packs of instant noodles, a few packs of pickled mustard greens, 2 bags of sausages, and even a portable electric hot plate. Heavens helping me here. This was an absolute lifesaver. I quickly twisted open 2 bottles of water and gulped them down in one go. Then I tore open a pack of instant noodles, crumbled the noodle brick, and shoved a handful of the dry noodles straight into my mouth. After chewing through the ramen, I stuffed down 2 sausages, and the hunger finally eased a little. Phew. I leaned back in the driver's seat, letting out a satisfied breath. With water and food, my basic survival needs were stabilized for now. The nation's favorite ride, start up. I picked up my dead phone, found the charging port, and plugged it in. The screen quickly lit up with the charging icon. With my body replenished, my mind had also recovered quite a bit. I finally had a moment to calm down and pull up the vehicle modification panel. Current fortress points, 102, 5 upgrade paths available. Armor reinforcement was the most practical and urgent. It would cost 100 points to cover the vehicle with a layer of high-strength composite armor. 102 points, just enough for 1 upgrade, with a little starting capital left over. Side effect: vehicle weight increases, fuel economy drops accordingly. Upgrade time, 10 minutes. The fuel economy drop was something I hadn't anticipated. Looks like I'd need to make a gas station run. Confirmed. A layer of dim golden light instantly enveloped the entire minivan. A virtual 10-minute countdown floated in the corner of my vision. The upgrade needed time, so all I could do was wait. I casually opened my phone, which was charging. A week into the apocalypse, most areas had long since lost water and power. By rights, satellite communications should have gone dark too, but my phone's signal was actually stronger than before. An app called Survivor Forum had been directly downloaded to every phone, packed with strategy guides and map information. The content wasn't regulated, a mix of truth and fiction. You had to sort it out yourself. I guess someone with an awakened talent must be using their power to keep Blue Star's network running. I switched the forum to the Star Harbor City channel. The red fog is spreading east at a rate of 0.75 miles per day. Survivors are advised to evacuate to the eastern suburbs immediately. The forum also had all kinds of recruitment and bounty posts, a mixed bag of legit and shady. I understood well enough. In this world, one person's strength was ultimately limited. So I posted my own recruitment ad on the forum, Mobile War Fortress Recruiting. Priority given to talent users and technical personnel. Pay based on contribution. No time wasters. I hit send, and the post quickly sank to the bottom. After all, there were hundreds of recruitment posts like this every day. Just then, my phone suddenly buzzed. A week into the apocalypse, this was the first time I'd received a message from someone else. I opened the green bubble to see a woman's profile picture flashing. Ethan, are you there? Day 7 of the apocalypse. I'd posted my recruitment ad, and the first person to reach out to me turned out to be Rachel, a beautiful doctor I'd met half a year earlier. Her voice trembled with despair, but I opened my mouth and asked flatly, "Have you awakened a talent?" She couldn't answer. I dropped a cold line. I only take people who are useful, not trophies. What I didn't know was that this woman I'd just shut out was about to erupt with something astonishing on the other end of the line. The woman on the phone was named Rachel. Same age as me, born into a family of doctors. She'd gotten into a top medical school through her own hard work, on a combined bachelor's-master's doctoral track. Young as she was already a key candidate being groomed by Star Harbor Central Hospital. She was strikingly beautiful, always in light makeup, with a bookish air behind her glasses. 6 months ago, her car had come in for maintenance at the shop where I worked. My careful, professional work had left a strong impression on her, close in age as we were. So she'd added me on WeChat, for convenience whenever she had car questions. Over the following months, our chat history had stayed as clean as a medical chart. Nothing but QA. When the blood moon descended, she'd just finished a surgery and was resting in her nearby apartment. Like most people, she assumed she just needed to hold out a few days until a rescue team came for her. But a week later, her supplies were gone, and nothing had changed. When she learned from the forum that the world's order had utterly collapsed, she realized she was trapped in a dead end. Worse still, she could already faintly see the deadly red fog closing in outside her window. She tried going out to look for supplies once, but the moment she stepped outside, She witnessed a neighbor being devoured by a horde of zombies. Terrified, she immediately retreated and abandoned the idea entirely. With nowhere else to turn, she tried reaching out to survivor squads on the forum. But the other party had bluntly asked her to send unfiltered, no makeup photos. The implication was obvious. She understood then, fully. Even with medical skill on her side, joining a stranger's group would likely just turn her into a bargaining chip. In this dog-eat-dog apocalypse, her beauty had become a liability instead. In her despair, with her phone down to 2% battery, she'd seen my recruitment post. Something in the wording felt familiar, grounded, so on a whim, she messaged me, just as she began to doubt the call would ever connect. Hello. My finger swiped across the answer button. In the background, the low hum of an engine. Ethan, is that you? That squad called Fortress Heart. It's me, Dr. Rachel. My voice gave nothing away. It's me, Rachel. I saw your recruitment post. I want to join. The line went silent for a few seconds, then my voice came again. Since you read the post, let me ask you, have you awakened a talent? Direct, blunt, not a shred of politeness. And not yet. I don't dare touch those monsters. She caught the subtext in my words. In this world where power was everything, what was a doctor with no ability really worth? Actually, I look pretty good. The humiliating words tumbled out of her dry throat before she could stop them. I cut her off coldly, my voice completely flat. You've misunderstood me. I only take people who are useful, not trophies. As for looks, that's a bonus at best. I figured her family was well off, that she drove a luxury car, probably some rich young lady who'd gotten where she was through connections. Especially since she'd been willing to offer herself up like that. It only confirmed my read on her. I understand. Her voice went dry and low, resigned to reality. Goodbye, Dr. Rachel. My voice carried the tone of someone about to end the call. All her life, she'd been dismissed by countless people. That her looks were the result of plastic surgery, that her grades were from cheating, that her doctoral admission came from sleeping with the dean. She knew, if she hung up, all that waited for her was death. So she let 20-some years of anger burst out all at once. Ethan, wait. They all say I'm just a pretty face living off her looks. A trust fund airhead riding on family connections. I'm a direct track PhD student in clinical medicine at Star Harbor Central Hospital. Top of my class, 3 years running. That's from sleeping 4 hours a night and living in the library and the operating room. I know every muscle, every blood vessel in the human body. My worth is on the operating table. She was panting, her chest heaving violently, treating me like a trash can for her emotions. I never had plastic surgery, never slept with the dean. I'm still a damn virgin, okay? Are you satisfied now? After that long outburst, she seemed drained of all strength, her back slamming hard against the cold wall. All that came through the receiver now was her broken sobbing. It was so humiliating. Rachel had never been this humiliated in her entire life. The campus belle, the medical prodigy, all of it a joke right now. This was also the first time in her 20-some years of life she'd ever cursed out loud. She spoke suddenly, her voice exhausted, carrying a strange note of gratitude. Thanks. At least you're decent enough not to just hang up while I lost it. She tugged at the corner of her mouth, trying to smile, but it looked worse than crying. Her fingers trembled as she reached to press that red end call button. Let it end. Let everything end. Send me the address. My voice rang out again. 4 simple words, cutting through the receiver without warning. Her finger froze, an inch from the screen, her mind going blank. She even wondered if she'd hallucinated it. Had he agreed? She trembled all over, almost on instinct opening the location sharing feature. Her eyes locked onto the little spinning circle on the screen, sending. But just as the circle was about to finish, right as the message was about to go through, the screen suddenly went dark. The glaring red battery icon vanished completely, replaced by dead black silence. The phone had died. Rachel froze in place, as if turned to stone. Did he get it? Panic seized her heart instantly. The progress bar looked like it had been just short of finishing. Without an address, how could I possibly find her? Would I think she was messing with me? Would I give up because of it? The apartment fell into dead silence, swallowing her whole. Her only connection had cut off completely, right in front of her eyes. She stood up abruptly, her voice carrying an almost obsessive certainty. He must have gotten it. He must have. He delivered a car to me 6 months ago. He's been to this complex before. He has to remember the location. That thought became the last pillar holding her up. The survival instinct overrode everything else. She rushed to her desk and started frantically searching through it. Heavy medical textbooks and a small first aid kit tucked in her nightstand. Inside were adrenaline, strong antibiotics, sterile suture kits, and a tourniquet. These were all proof of her worth. As long as I came, as long as I could find this place, she could trade her knowledge for a chance to survive. She clutched the books and the first aid kit tightly to her chest and slid down against the cold wall to sit on the floor. In the darkness, she stared fixedly at the door, ears straining to catch any sound from outside the window. An engine. She needed to hear an engine. That was her only hope. On my end, seeing that the other party is hung up, notice, I frowned slightly. I called back, but got no response. Was it a coincidence, her phone dying? Or a carefully laid trap? In this apocalypse, people's hearts were unfathomable. Using a woman's vulnerability and despair to set a trap wasn't uncommon on the forum. I wasn't some saint, and especially after being burned once by Maya, my plans had no room for pointless baggage. But that last outburst from Rachel had sounded real, and it hit precisely on what I needed most right now, a good doctor. The SSS tier Fortress Heart talent was, at its core, about vehicles, upgrades, modifications, all external things. And I myself was still flesh and blood, not invincible against bites and sudden ambushes. One accidental serious injury and infection could end my journey before it even really started. So a doctor skilled in trauma care and familiar with pharmacology was worth no less than a powerful combat-type talent user. Rachel hadn't awakened a talent, likely because she hadn't completed a first kill, which meant she was currently unmarked, highly moldable. Biyun Yaju, Building 7, Unit B. I murmured, repeating the fragment of address she'd given. My finger scrolled through the WeChat chat history. The location from delivering her car 6 months ago was still clearly saved. There it is. The memory matched. The address was correct. Looked like Rachel hadn't lied, at least not about this crucial piece of information. I pulled up the map. The apartment was in the southern district of Star Harbor, not too far as the crow flies. But the actual road conditions. I glanced out the car window at the wreckage-strewn street. Navigation says half an hour? Heh, I gave a wry smile. The roads of the apocalypse were paved with lives. I estimated it would take at least an hour. Outside the window, the red sun was about to set, the sky growing darker by the minute. The forum's pinned warning was etched deep into everyone's mind. Nighttime in the apocalypse is when zombies are most active. Do not travel at night unless absolutely necessary. Night was the true hunting ground. Zombies sluggish by day turned abnormally violent and agile under the blood moon's influence. Worse still, certain mutant creatures only emerged in the dark, their movements shrouded in mystery. Setting out now to cross the chaotic urban district would be like throwing myself into a meat grinder. Just then, the upgrade countdown in my field of view hit 0. Armor reinforcement complete. Vehicle weight increased 15%. Fuel economy has dropped accordingly. The dim golden light wrapping the car faded, revealing the upgraded body. The once plain nation's favorite minivan was now cloaked in a matte dark gray coating. From the hood to the tires and chassis, everything was covered. The silhouette unchanged, but it looked noticeably tougher now. I rolled down the window and rapped my knuckles against the door. That solid, heavy feel was incredible. With a thought, I pulled up the info panel. 3 core components in good condition, armor reinforcement, basic, fortress points, 2. A new modification panel had also appeared alongside it. Add mutant creature cores, energy crystals, and other special materials to enhance vehicle effects or unlock special properties. Looked like this was the special modification unlocked at Fortress Heart Level 2. The forum guides had mentioned that certain elite zombies had a chance of dropping special materials upon death. Looked like the zombies I'd killed so far had been too ordinary. None had dropped anything special. To get these materials, I'd have to actively hunt down those dangerous ones. Fuel economies dropped to the low 20s. I mused. The weight increase inevitably meant higher consumption. Finding fuel was now an urgent priority. I remembered a sizable gas station I'd passed not far from here, right along the necessary route to Biyun Yaju, in a remote spot that might not have been looted yet. Checking the time, night would fall within 10 minutes at most. Perfect, it's on the way. I made my decision immediately. The fortress needed supplies, the night needed shelter. I'd use it as the proving ground for this armor's first real test. I shifted into gear, released the parking brake, and the nation's favorite minivan slowly rolled out of the parking lot. I gripped the wheel tight, my palms sweating. I was excited, eager to see just how good this armor reinforcement really was. This road was the best litmus test. The moment I drove out of the campus gates, 2 wandering zombies appeared ahead. They wore tattered work uniforms, their skin gray and rotting. The instant they heard the engine, their decayed heads snapped, toward the minivan. In their cloudy eyes, a hunger for living flesh erupted. Roar! They burst into speeds far beyond ordinary zombies, lunging straight at the van. My heart leaped, my pupils constricting. On the road here, I'd seen too many ordinary vehicles left in horrific states after hitting zombies. Shattered windshields, ruptured radiators, practically a death sentence in this apocalypse. Bring it on. My eyes went sharp, and instead of slowing down, I floored the gas pedal. I chose the most brutal approach, a head-on collision. Bang, bang, two dull thuds, followed by the unmistakable crack of bone. At the moment of impact, a massive force surged through the wheel, and the whole vehicle shuddered. Then my view ahead suddenly went black, not dizziness, but something completely smearing the glass. A huge mess of flesh, brains, and yellow-green fluid splattered across the windshield like squashed tomato sauce. Stuck to the wiper blade was a blood-streaked zombie eyeball, swinging with the motion of the car. I took a deep breath and switched on the wipers, my vision gradually clearing. Dozens of yards away, the two zombies were embedded in the wall of a low storefront like squashed mosquitoes, their bodies nearly pulverized by the massive impact, guts and blood staining the mottled wall. In my car's front, the bumper was completely intact, the windshield untouched. That layer of matte gray armor hadn't even lost a speck of paint. Huh. Armor reinforcement. This is terrifying. I couldn't help sucking in a cold breath. Just one level of defense reinforcement, and an ordinary zombie's impact was like an egg hitting a rock in front of it. 100 points already got me this. If I keep reinforcing it further, firepower, mobility, survival, expansion. My heart pounded, as if I could already see the future. This nation's favorite minivan would transform, step by step, into a true steel behemoth, running wild and unchallenged across the apocalypse. I didn't hesitate any longer, cranking the wheel hard. The minivan's small, compact frame worked to its full advantage, weaving through narrow gaps like a slithering dragon. Along the way, 7 more reckless zombies tried to block me, and the vehicle remained just as solid as before. My confidence swelled rapidly with every successful collision. By the time the red and white roof came into view, the last traces of red had completely vanished from the sky. A massive, eerie blood moon quietly emerged. The gas station was dead silent. Darkness, the true hunting ground of the apocalypse. I slowly pulled the car into the shadow of the entrance and killed the engine. The zombies wandering along the way had clearly increased in number, staggering out from every dark corner. Faint, inhuman howls carried through the night, especially chilling. Near the gas station itself, for now, all I could hear was the wind. My taut nerves relaxed just a little. The safest move, of course, was to stay in the car until dawn. After all, with Fortress Heart's boost, this minivan was practically a small safe zone of its own. But I also understood, fortune favors the bold, and only the timid starve. Having just awakened my talent, I was still far behind the strong players I'd seen on the forum. On top of that, my talent and skills both consumed a lot of supplies. I decided I'd get out and check things out in a bit. Roar! A deafening howl suddenly came from the direction of Star Harbor University, several miles away. I whipped my head around, staring in that direction. By the dim glow of the blood moon, I saw something I'd never forget as long as I lived. An unimaginably massive silhouette was slowly rising up from the university grounds. That outline had to be at least 30 stories tall, like a titan straight out of mythology. That terrifying figure slowly raised a palm the size of a small hill. Boom! Under that massive palm, an entire dormitory building crumbled in an instant. Bricks and stone flew. Dust surged skyward like a small mushroom cloud. A single strike, and a sturdy dormitory building was reduced to rubble. So this is the horror of an apocalyptic night. I murmured to myself, my voice trembling, with a hint of excitement I hadn't even noticed in myself. I forced myself to tear my eyes away and turned back to the gas station in front of me. It was calm here for now, but definitely not a place to linger. Suddenly, my gaze locked onto the convenience store's glass door. By the faint light of the blood moon, near the checkout counter, a flicker of extremely faint orange light, gone in an instant. It looked exactly like what the forum had described, the special energy crystals that only elite mutants dropped. Special material. My heart leaped. Vehicle modification needed special materials, and here it was, right in front of me. But almost the instant I spotted that light, a pair of ghostly green eyes locked dead onto my direction. A shrill, piercing screech erupted, nothing at all like a human voice. Roar screech. That thing had spotted me. Retreat or flee. Day 8 of the apocalypse. A grease-covered monster used a flame-spewing gas nozzle to set my car door on fire. I tore off its arm, smashed its head in, but I never imagined that was only the beginning of the nightmare. As I finally collapsed into exhausted sleep, a sobbing woman crying for help knocked on my window, and hidden behind her sweet voice was a gun pressed against my temple. Just then, in the glow of the emergency lights, a misshapen silhouette appeared. A gas station uniform hung awkwardly off its bloated, deformed body. Its left arm, the entire forearm, was gone, replaced by a gas nozzle nearly a yard long. Its whole body was coated in a thick layer of grime, radiating a danger far beyond an ordinary zombie's. Could this be an elite-tier zombie? According to the forum, ordinary zombies mostly retained a human shape, but more fully evolved elite zombies would specialize certain body parts, gaining even greater power. Just then, the nozzle zombie moved. It didn't lunge straight at me. Instead, it abruptly raised that gas nozzle arm. Shoo! A stream of viscous, blackish-red liquid shot out like a pressure washer, striking precisely on the driver's side door. The heavy stench of gasoline instantly filled the air. My pupils constricted. That was the smell of gasoline. Before I could even react, a spark of blue electricity flickered at the end of the nozzle. The gasoline-soaked door burst into orange flame in an instant. Intense heat poured through the door, and the temperature inside the cab spiked instantly. Damn it! I cursed under my breath, heart pounding. Armor reinforcement gave decent physical defense, but this was direct fire exposure. And with the cramped interior, if the flames spread inside, I'd be roasted meat inside a tin coffin. I couldn't stay in the car. Gotta get out. My mind raced, and I made the call instantly. Shifted into gear, released the brake, all in one smooth motion. Reversed quickly, pulling clear of the flames. Then I slammed the brake, floored the gas at the same time, and launched the van straight at the flame-spewing zombie. The nozzle zombie clearly hadn't expected its prey to counterattack suddenly, and its movement stalled for a beat. But it was an elite monster after all, its reaction still fast. The gas nozzle arm spun abruptly, aiming the burning muzzle at the windshield. Searing heat rushed at my face, swallowing the whole vehicle and blocking my view. Fortress Heart. Open the doors. I roared in my mind. Click, click. The left and right door locks popped open instantly. Without a second's hesitation, the moment the doors opened, I threw myself out of the driver's seat, tumbling free. Scorching heat brushed past my back, leaving a burning sting all over. Almost simultaneously, the nation's favorite minivan, driven by momentum, punched straight through the wall of flame and heat. The reinforced, sturdy front end slammed solidly into the zombie's waist. This impact was nothing like the collisions with ordinary zombies before. The massive force didn't shatter it. Instead, it drove the creature, shelving unit and all, straight into the convenience store. The nozzle zombie was pinned hard against a load-bearing column, unable to move. Only that gas nozzle left arm still thrashed wildly, but the muzzle had been crushed out of shape, its spray severely reduced. Good opening. I gritted my teeth through the pain and rolled to my feet. This had caused too much commotion. I needed to end this fast. I reached out my right hand, gripping the gas nozzle, the cold metal touch giving me an idea. Metal control. Decompose it. I silently commanded. Fortress Heart's power surged through my arm, locking hard onto the nozzle. That twisted, thick nozzle arm began decomposing at a visible rate. Starting from the tip, it dissolved into extremely fine particle streams, absorbed into me. The barrel, along with the zombie's arm, was completely reduced to nothing, leaving only a charred stump. Decomposition successful. Fortress points gained, 120. Proficiency gained, 120. Special material obtained, flame iron shavings, elite tier. I could feel that my decomposition speed now was noticeably faster than before. Roar ugh. The nozzle zombie let out a pained, furious howl. Its body struggled uselessly in the wreckage. Only its head, the one part still free, still reaching forward relentlessly. My eyes went cold, without a shred of mercy. My right arm, from shoulder to fist, instantly covered itself in a thick, matte metallic sheen. The upgraded metal armament now covered a wider range. Trying to bite me? Try this. I planted my stance and channeled my whole body's strength into the punch. My right fist slammed into that twisted, deformed skull, followed by a dull crunch like a ripe watermelon bursting. The nozzle zombie's struggling stopped completely, only half its body left twitching faintly in the wreckage. Fight over. I panted hard, releasing the metal armament. That burst of continuous actions had drained a huge amount of stamina and mental strength. I forced myself to calm down and walked over to that disgusting pile of remains. Fighting back a strong wave of nausea, I kicked aside the shattered skull fragments. Sure enough, deep in the cranial cavity, I found a peanut-sized crystal. It felt slightly warm to the touch, with a clear pulse of energy. An elite tier core, and a fire-type one, the most valuable kind. I knew this was what the forum treated as hard currency, something that only had a chance of dropping from killing elite zombies. Apparently, certain powerful talent users could absorb energy directly from a core to strengthen themselves. Next, my gaze fell on a piece of dark red metal in my hand. Thin as a willow leaf, irregular at the edges, marked with flame-like patterns. This was the flame iron shavings from decomposing the nozzle arm. The metal was a little hot to the touch, and much heavier than ordinary steel. Fortress Heart provided more detailed info. Flame iron shavings. Contains trace fire-type energy, extreme heat resistance, and fire affinity. Fused into armor, increases fire resistance. Fused into an engine, slightly improves combustion efficiency. Good stuff. My heart lifted. This risky trip had been worth it. Whether the core or the flame iron shavings, both were incredibly precious materials. I carefully tucked them into my inner backpack. With that done, an overwhelming wave of exhaustion hit me instantly. Combined with inhaling some smoke, my head felt heavy, my vision darkening. I hurried back to the car and locked the doors with a thought. The exterior armor on the driver's side was charred black, the surface coating badly damaged, some areas showing signs of melting. Thankfully, the fire had gone out. I managed to park the car in a nearby clearing, then collapsed into the driver's seat, unable to hold on any longer. First, let me rest a bit. The thought flickered through my mind, and my head lolled to one side. I was out cold almost instantly. Time slipped by, minute by minute. I had no idea how long I'd slept, until a faint knocking sound rang out beside my ear. Knock, 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 knock. I was jolted awake by a persistent knocking. Someone was rapping on the driver's side window. I startled awake. The sky outside already faintly gray. The blood moon had faded, the red sun streaming in through the windshield. I tilted my head slightly, looking out through the gap in the window. A stranger's face, pressed right up against the glass. Her complexion was terrifyingly pale, her eyes swollen red like peaches. The thin t-shirt she wore had been roughly torn open, a large expanse of skin exposed. Her voice carried a sob, trembling through the gap. Help. Help me. Please, take me with you. I'll do anything. Her eyes darted frantically around the inside of the car. When she saw my young but strikingly calm face, she seemed to freeze for a moment. Then she pounded on the window even harder, tears streaming down like a string of broken pearls. Sir, please. My boyfriend's hurt. You're the only one who can save us. As she cried, she instinctively pulled at her torn collar. The gesture, instead of covering anything, only made the pale skin beneath more visible. Paired with her tear-streaked, pitiful look, it would have been overwhelming for any ordinary man. My brow furrowed almost imperceptibly. In the apocalypse, a lone woman, this disheveled and this enticing, actively knocking on a stranger's car window for help? Too deliberate. Too familiar a script. Traps built to exploit human weakness had come up on the forum again and again. Maya's betrayal was still fresh in my mind. I wasn't about to trust any sudden kindness so easily again. I didn't open the door right away, just cracked the window a sliver, enough to hear. What happened? My voice was flat, unmoved. The woman, as if grasping a lifeline, urgently pointed toward the convenience store. In the bathroom of the convenience store, we ran into a monster. Its arm is a gas nozzle. It can spray fire. Our car got burned up in seconds. My boyfriend got hurt protecting me. Please, sir, take us with you. We've got gasoline. We've got food. We'll give you all of it. Just take us with you. Her eyes swept over my unremarkable but unusually sturdy minivan. She and her companion had watched last night's fight clearly from the shadows. This car had brutally rammed away that fire-spewing monster, far better than their own SUV, which had burned down to a frame in an instant. I caught the key words, my tone still flat. Gasoline? Supplies? How much? Where? In the convenience store bathroom. 2 cans of gas, half a case of bottled water, a backpack of food. The woman quickly said, leaning forward slightly, trying to let me see her more clearly. Please, we'll give you everything. I pushed open the car door, my movement clean and decisive. Lead the way. The woman seemed surprised I'd agreed so readily and froze for a second. Then a look of wild joy crossed her face, and she turned, stumbling toward the bathroom. Quick, sir, my boyfriend's badly hurt. At the bathroom door, she shoved it open and called out with a sob in her voice. Bruno, we're saved. The instant I stepped through the door, a cold, metallic sensation suddenly pressed against my right temple. Don't move. Move an inch, and I'll blow your head off. A sinister voice sounded next to my ear, thick with barely restrained smugness. At the same time, the woman who'd been so pitifully pleading a moment ago had her expression changed completely, the pleading gone without a trace. She darted to one side, blocking the doorway, a knife somehow now in her hand, glaring at me viciously. My gaze swept calmly over the interior of the bathroom, cramped, reeking of urine and blood. The man holding the gun was indeed the Bruno the woman had mentioned. He was genuinely injured, his left arm wrapped in a blood-soaked strip of cloth. His right hand held a police pistol steady, the black muzzle pressed dead against my head. His eyes were full of greed and a thrill from holding another's life in his hands. Bruno grinned wide, baring his teeth in a savage smile. "Huh, idiot. So easy to trick. Saw a chick showing some skin and you couldn't stop yourself, huh? Nice car you got there. That monster's fire didn't even burn through it last night. I've been dying for a ride. And here you come, delivering yourself right to my door." The woman beside him, Cindy, echoed shrilly. "Ha ha ha. Kid, didn't expect that, did you? Too bad your brain's not as sharp as your car. In this apocalypse, sympathy is the cheapest thing there is. Bruno, take his car keys. Look at him, he's gotta have food." Bruno pressed the gun harder into my temple. "Know what's good for you. Hand over the car keys and everything valuable now. I'm in a good mood. Might just leave you a whole corpse." I acted as if I hadn't heard the threat at all. My gaze calmly settled on the corner, where a few blue fuel cans, half a case of bottled water, and a bulging hiking pack sat stacked. That's all the supplies there are. My voice, flat, as if I were asking about today's weather. Bruno and Cindy both froze for a second. Bruno, enraged by my dismissiveness, felt insulted. "The hell? Who do you think you're looking down on? Shut up. Get down on your knees. Hand over the car keys." The moment he finished, his fingers slammed down on the trigger. In that split second, my right hand, hanging at my side, instantly covered itself in matte metal. Metal control, armament. No dodge, no block. I simply raised my right arm, crossing it in front of my temple. Bang. But the scene I'd expected, brains splattering everywhere, never came. Instead, a crisp clang of metal, sparks flying. A deformed bullet dropped uselessly to the filthy floor. The grin on Bruno's face froze instantly, twisting into pure terror. His eyes went wide, as if he'd seen a ghost. "You? What kind of monster are you? A talent user?" Cindy screamed in fright, nearly dropping the knife in her hand. My eyes turned completely cold in that moment. "Looks like your choice just became a dead end." As Bruno tried to pull the trigger again, my metal-armored right hand had already seized his gun-wielding wrist. Crack. A bone-snapping sound. "Ah." Bruno let out a scream of agony. His wrist twisted a full 180 degrees, the pistol flying from his grip. Without hesitation, the next second, I clamped down precisely on Bruno's throat. Ugh, ha ha. His feet left the ground, lifted single-handedly by me. Bruno thrashed wildly, choking, his face full of terror and pleading. My eyes stayed cold, watching him twist uselessly in my grip. A few seconds later, with a light, crisp snap, his cervical spine broke clean. The struggling stopped instantly, his head lolling to one side, pupils blown. I tossed the body aside like garbage. My cold gaze swept to Cindy, who'd gone limp on the floor. A sudden stench filled the air, she'd wet herself. "No, don't kill me. Please." He forced me into it. Cindy was scared out of her wits, the knife clattering to the floor. She dropped straight to her knees, kowtowing. "Sir, I was wrong. Please let me go. I'll do anything." As she cried, she frantically tore at her already torn clothes, trying to use her body as her last bargaining chip. There wasn't a flicker of feeling in my eyes. In this apocalypse, I'd heard of plenty of people willing to sell out anything to survive. This woman in front of me, and Maya who'd abandoned me for an SUV last night, weren't fundamentally any different. They were both venomous snakes, clinging to the strong, ready to strike back at any moment. Mercy? That would only get me killed. Without a shred of hesitation, my right fist swung at Cindy's head. Her pleas cut off abruptly, her body collapsing to the floor, a clear fist-shaped mark on her forehead. The bathroom fell into a heavy stench of blood and dead silence. I shook the blood off my arm, the metal armament slowly fading, revealing unblemished skin beneath. I checked over the 2 cans of gas, the half case of bottled water, and the bulging hiking pack. Inside were some compressed biscuits, canned meat, and a few packs of cigarettes. Looked like this was the fruit of their own scavenging, which conveniently saved me the trouble. I picked up the pistol, 4 rounds left, and a decent-looking knife too. Not a bad haul, I said flatly, packing up the supplies. I took one last look at the 2 still warm bodies on the floor, then turned and walked toward the minivan. That fight, though, had drawn quite a few zombies. This place wasn't safe to linger. Meanwhile, at Buyunyaju, Building 7, Unit B, Rachel was curled up in a corner, clutching her packed bag tightly to her chest. She hadn't closed her eyes all night, straining to catch even the faintest engine sound. But besides the distant, faint howling of zombies, there was nothing. Her eyelids felt like they were weighted with lead, her mind throbbing from exhaustion. Thud, thud, thud. A clear, restrained knock suddenly sounded, right outside the door. She held her breath, frozen in place. Was it him? Ethan? A deliberately lowered, anxious male voice came through the door. Little Ray. It's me, Vincent. Open the door quick. We need to leave right now. Vincent? Her nominal fiancé? The only son of a pharmaceutical conglomerate board director, 8 years her senior, the perfect son-in-law in her parents' eyes. Slicked hair, showy manners, always with my dad's company on his lips. He'd vanished into thin air the moment the apocalypse hit, 7 days without a word. Rachel had already assumed he'd either been swallowed by the sea of corpses or was hiding somewhere too preoccupied to think of her. How had he found this place? How did he know she wasn't dead? Countless questions exploded in her mind, but her body moved before her thoughts could catch up. Survival instinct drove her stumbling toward the door. Through the peephole, she saw that familiar yet strange face. It really was Vincent. His hair carefully styled, that expensive tailored suit dusted with some grime, though his collar remained impeccably neat. His brow was furrowed, eyes scanning the hallway anxiously, as if dodging something. For a moment, Rachel nearly turned the door latch. A familiar face, in this hellish apocalypse, was itself a form of security. Okay, I'm coming. Just as her fingers were about to press the door handle, a tiny, nagging sense of wrongness caught her attention. Vincent had a deeply ingrained habit. His left eye would twitch unconsciously when he was nervous. But the man outside the door showed not a trace of extra expression on his face. Could it be he wasn't Vincent? Cold sweat instantly soaked through her back. She'd heard on the forum that people who'd awakened talents had abilities far beyond ordinary human understanding. Maybe the man outside was one of the awakened. Little Ray, open the door, quick. There's no time. The Vincent outside the door pressed even more urgently, the knocking growing heavier, tinged with an unmistakable insistence. She forced herself to stay calm, asking through the door in as steady a voice as she could manage. Vincent, how did you know I was in this building? The other party's tone was full of sincerity. I've been looking for you this whole time. Used every connection I had to track you down. Open the door, we can talk on the way. Used every connection? In a world where order had collapsed and zombies roamed free, Rachel's suspicion deepened. She decided to test him once more. Vincent. Oh right. That adrenaline shot my dad developed. Is it still at your company? What Rachel was actually referring to wasn't adrenaline at all. It was a gastric cancer-targeted drug Vincent's company had just launched onto the market 6 months ago. Vincent had once bragged to her, smugly, about the massive profits from that project. Just 1 or 2 seconds of silence, but it stretched long, like an entire century. Rachel's heart nearly pounded out of her chest. The figure outside the door clearly paused for a beat, his voice carrying a forcibly suppressed hesitation. Oh, of course it's still there. How could I possibly lose something that important? Just open the door, forget about the medicine. Let's get out of here first. Completely wrong. That line was the final straw. Whatever wore Vincent's face right now was absolutely not her fiancé. It was some kind of creature capable of shape-shifting, or someone with an awakened special talent. How had it found this place so precisely? How did it know about her and Vincent's relationship? What was its goal? Capturing her? Or something even more terrifying? Rachel's voice shook uncontrollably, overwhelming fear nearly choking her. Oh, okay. Okay, let me pack up a few things. Right away. My ID and some very important research materials. I can't leave those behind. Wait for me outside. Just a moment. Don't open the door. Absolutely do not open the door. The Vincent outside clearly hadn't expected this kind of response. After a brief silence, the knocking grew more urgent and heavy. Thud, thud, thud. Little Ray, what kind of time is this to worry about that stuff? Is your life more important, or paper? Open the door now. Stay any longer, and the monsters will come back. The threat in that voice barely bothered to hide itself anymore. Rachel, trembling, felt for the fruit knife she always carried. Its cold metal touch offered no comfort at all. The pounding at the door outside grew louder and louder. Rachel bit her lip hard until she tasted the thick taste of blood. She closed her eyes and screamed silently in her heart. Ethan, where are you? Get here, please. Day 8 of the apocalypse. I reached Rachel's apartment, kicked the door open, and drove a knife through the back of the skull of the pervert who'd been impersonating her fiancé. But I never imagined the one who'd sold out her location was her own rightful fiancé, Vincent. And every single line in the messages this man had sent treated her like nothing but merchandise to be traded. Little Ray, open the door. I'll break it down if you don't. The urgency in the Vincent outside the door had completely faded now. Stop pretending. Who the hell are you really? Rachel's voice pitched higher with fear. The pounding on the door outside stopped abruptly. A few seconds later, an entirely unfamiliar laugh cut through the door. Ha ha ha. Dr. Rachel, you're pretty sharp. Just like that coward Vincent said. You've got a real fine mind on you. Then, the door lock let out a groan of protest that couldn't hold on any longer. With a crash, the entire door slammed inward. Standing in the doorway was a short, stocky man, his face thick with fat, oozing sleaze. His smile carried something almost sickly, his triangular eyes flashing with undisguised greed. That gaze crawled shamelessly all over Rachel, as if he could strip her bare with his eyes alone. You know Vincent? Where is he? Coleman sneered, as if he'd just heard the funniest joke in the world. That coward? Off cozying up to his little side piece in a car, living it up. Your location, he told me himself, in exchange for 2 packs of cigarettes and a bottle of water. Impossible. Rachel felt as if struck by lightning, her face draining to paper white in an instant. That man, whom she felt nothing for, but had still treated politely in front of her parents. He'd sold her out like merchandise? But her remaining rationality told her, if not for that, how could this man have found this place so precisely? What's impossible about it? Coleman took a step closer. In this world, aren't women just supplies too? Especially pretty supplies like you, a hot commodity. Let's properly introduce ourselves. On the street, they call me Coleman. Come to think of it, we're actually old acquaintances. Coleman licked his thick lips lewdly, his eyes flashing with a sickly fervor. 6 months ago, acute appendicitis. It was your own hands that pulled me back from the brink. From that day on, I couldn't stop thinking about you. The way your hands held the scalpel. Calm, powerful, perfect. Coleman spread his arms wide, his face twisted with a sick excitement. See this? My talent, 1,000 faces. I can turn into any appearance I want. The next second, he morphed into the face of a popular idol, a corrupt smile at the corner of his mouth. Baby, like this face? Before Rachel could react, the face changed again, into a muscular fitness influencer. Or maybe you prefer this rugged type? Then he became a rugged, deep-voiced action star. Or maybe, mature and steady? Finally, he shifted back into Vincent's hypocritical face, his eyes still sickeningly lewd. Or how about we just use your fiancé's face? Feels more fitting, doesn't it? Rachel's stomach churned, an overwhelming wave of nausea nearly making her retch. She'd never imagined an ordinary surgery would draw a monster like this into her life. Stay back, or I'll take you down with me. Rachel screamed, brandishing her trembling fruit knife at Coleman. Take me down with you? Coleman's expression turned cold, but instead of backing off, he took another big step forward. Fine. So what if you die? I like it fresh, warm from the kill. I know a friend who's a wakened puppeteer. He can turn people into eternal dolls. That way you can stay with me forever. Your body, your face, mine, forever. Rachel's whole body shook violently, and a desperate, resolute thought was born out of her despair. She flipped the knife around, pressing the blade tight against her own cheek. You like my face? I'll ruin it right now. Then you can get off on staring at an ugly monster. No. Stop. The lewd grin on Coleman's face froze instantly. He let out a shriek, his body lunging toward Rachel on instinct. That was his treasured piece of art. How could it be destroyed? Thud. A dull, brief sound abruptly cut off Coleman's shriek. Rachel only felt a flash before her eyes, and a spray of warm liquid splattered across her face. Her pupils blew wide as she saw, clearly, a deep, bleeding hole opening in the man's forehead. His shocked, furious expression froze in place, and his body, without support, dropped straight down. Dust swirled where he fell, revealing a figure standing in the doorway. A bloodstained work uniform, a tall, straight build, a cold, hard expression, pulling back a knife caked with brain matter from the back of Coleman's skull. It was Ethan. He'd really come. She watched me calmly flick the mess off my knife, my movements practiced to a terrifying degree. Rachel's mouth fell open, but no sound came out. Dr. Rachel, got everything packed? My voice carried no ripple of emotion. By now, she was nothing like the medical elite from 6 months ago, driving her luxury car, dressed to the nines. For the sake of mobility, she'd cut her long hair short and simply tied it in a low ponytail. She wore the plainest dark athletic wear, sturdy sneakers, everything geared toward practicality. Though a little haggard, she still couldn't hide her cool, aloof air, which actually saved me a fair amount of trouble. Rachel's gaze couldn't help but drift to the still, slightly twitching corpse on the floor. Ethan, he's dead? Though she was a doctor, someone who'd faced death head-on in the hospital, her scalpel had always been a tool for saving lives. This was the first time she'd watched, up close, a living person get ended so cleanly and abruptly. Don't carry this as a burden. This kind of thing is going to happen a lot from now on. Getting used to it early will serve you well. Get used to it? Get used to killing people? Or get used to watching others be killed? Rachel's heart sank. My words sent a chill through her. But that send me the address from last night's call, and this reality right in front of her now, gave her an immense sense of security. In this world, rules and morality had long since become unrecognizable. Staying alive was the only truth left. I didn't pay attention to the confusion in her eyes, crouching down and quickly patting Coleman down. I found a few pieces of chocolate, a small bag of compressed biscuits, a lighter, nothing else. He hadn't been carrying much, probably a local from nearby. I frowned, murmuring, there must be a survivor stronghold nearby. Just then, ding. The sound came from a phone that had slipped out of Coleman's pants pocket. The screen lit up, and a new WeChat message popped up, the sender's contact name glaringly obvious, Coward Vincent. I opened the chat window, and several unread messages were flashing. Coleman, did you find my wife, Rachel? I'm just curious about one thing. Is that girl actually still a virgin? We're waiting at the back entrance of the complex. Hurry it up. Once you're done, let our brothers have a taste too. That voice. Rachel felt struck by lightning again. Even through the phone, she instantly recognized whose voice this was, Vincent, her nominal fiancé. Every line dripped with vulgarity, sleaze, and blatant objectification of women. I looked up at Rachel, who was shaking all over. Your man? My fiancé. Rachel practically forced the 3 words out through gritted teeth, feeling like the biggest joke in the world. Then you. My gaze swept over her. I'm clean. Rachel straightened her back abruptly, her eyes unusually stubborn and clear. She didn't need pity, and even less sympathy. She wanted to trade her own worth for the right to survive. In that moment, she finally fully understood the line from my recruitment post. I only take useful people. Feelings? We can talk about that once we're alive. In this apocalypse, what room was there for sentiment? Strength and utility were the only currency that mattered. Oh, my response remained flat, and I casually pocketed the broken phone. Then I turned my gaze to the backpack behind her, and beside it, a bulging, heavy-looking suitcase. Is that everything? Ethan, let's go, Rachel said, taking a deep breath, trying to make her voice sound reliable. She quickly shouldered the backpack stuffed with medicine, then struggled to drag the enormous suitcase. I watched her slightly clumsy but determinately effortful movements, my brow furrowing almost imperceptibly. A woman, bringing this much dead weight along at a time like this. I remembered every time I'd taken Maya out, she'd bring a whole box of odds and ends, and I'd rush around for her without ever using any of it once. The car space was a precious survival resource, not meant for hauling things that were nice to have, but ultimately useless. I stepped forward and grabbed the suitcase's pull handle myself. Hey, Rachel had just started to say she could manage, when she felt her hand go light. The case had already been lifted easily out of her grip by me. The weight in my hand surprised me a little. This didn't feel like clothes or makeup. Rachel quickly explained, worried I'd be annoyed by the trouble and change my mind. I'm sorry, Ethan. This is all my medical textbooks and notes, plus a few important anatomical atlases. In this kind of environment, this knowledge is bound to be useful. I won't take up space for nothing. I weighed the heavy case in my hand, then looked at her eyes, full of exhaustion but still stubborn. For this seemingly delicate female doctor, I felt my opinion shift for the first time. At least, she wasn't the type who just wanted to lean on someone else, worthless beyond her looks. Having faced reality head-on, she seemed to be genuinely searching for her own place and value now. Stay close. I finally spoke, my voice still cold, but no longer laced with doubt. I carried the heavy suitcase in one hand, gripping the knife reversed in the other, and turned to head out the door. Got it. Rachel's spirits lifted, and she quickly followed close behind. Her instincts told her that choosing me had been the right call. The stairwell reeked heavily of blood. We'd barely gone a few steps when Rachel's eyes were drawn to a corpse, chewed beyond recognition. The horrific sight drained the color from her face again, but she clenched her jaw and forced herself to look away. There are a lot of dead out there. Be prepared. I didn't look back. Got it. She stayed close behind, her footsteps echoing clearly through the dead-silent stairwell. She understood. This wasn't the end, just the beginning. The bloody scenes ahead of her would become the new normal. This way. My voice was low and clipped, eyes scanning our surroundings. The two of us soon reached a corner, where a boxy minivan sat quietly parked. Rachel's footsteps abruptly halted, her eyes going wide. She stared at that unremarkable, even slightly dowdy minivan, then looked at my hard, cold face. This was supposed to be the mobile war fortress from the Post? That felt a little too abstract. She instinctively looked back at a white city SUV parked not far off in the lot. That was her car, reliable performance, comfortable interior, her everyday commuter vehicle. Rachel hesitated a moment, but couldn't help asking, "Ethan, why don't we take mine instead? Mine's all-wheel drive, higher ground clearance, might handle these road conditions better." She pointed at her white SUV, pulling the key out of her pocket, trying to make the suggestion sound more reasonable. I didn't slow my pace, didn't even glance back at her, just walked over to the driver's side of the minivan. A soft click, and the door lock popped open. "Get in." I pulled open the driver's door, giving the order without turning around. At the same time, my left hand carried the suitcase to the back of the car, and with a thought, the rear hatch silently rose open. Rachel looked at that automatically opening tailgate and froze again. Since when did an old clunker of a minivan have this kind of high-tech feature? She pushed down her confusion and jogged over to help carry the suitcase. But I lifted it single-handedly, and that heavy case, as if weightless, was tucked firmly into the roomy space in back. Rachel looked at the defined muscle lines in my arm and lost herself for a moment. "Get in the front." I closed the tailgate and pulled open the passenger door. She noticed the passenger seat was reasonably clean. Clearly, the clutter had been cleared out ahead of time. She pressed her lips together and said nothing more, obediently climbing in. I got into the driver's seat, closed the door, and with a thought, the locks clicked shut again. Inside the car, a relatively safe space had formed, and my taut nerves finally eased a little in that moment. The engine started with a low rumble. I pulled a bottle of water and a bag of instant noodles from the storage compartment and handed them to Rachel. My voice still had no particular rise or fall. "Make do for now. Your car was way too subpar. Eat something first." Hearing that phrase, "Your car was way too subpar," Rachel's mouth twitched involuntarily. Her top-of-the-line urban SUV, worth several $100,000, was too subpar in his eyes. However bad it was, surely it was still better than this utility minivan? But she didn't dare argue, just silently tore open the noodles and nibbled at the stiff, dry noodle brick with cold water. As she ate, tears began sliding down without warning, dripping onto the noodles in her hand. Not grief, not fear, more like a release after being wound too tight for too long. I glanced at her but said nothing, just handed over a charging cable. "Charge it." Rachel sniffled, took the cable, and plugged it into her long-dead phone. "Dr. Rachel." My voice broke the silence. She looked up, quickly wiping away her tears. "Since you read my post and agreed to join, from now on, you're part of my team. This vehicle is our mobile base and the foundation of our survival. There's only one rule here. Trust me, obey me, and you'll live. Doubt me, betray me, or if I die, you won't survive to see the second day." Rachel nodded firmly, her voice unusually resolute. "Okay, Ethan, I'll listen to whatever you say. You just experienced firsthand. Talent users in this world have already gone beyond what you could have imagined. Zombies are terrifying, sure, but what's always most terrifying is people." Rachel nodded hard, deeply moved. Vincent's betrayal, Coleman's depravity, both had taught her a brutal, bloody lesson. In this collapsed world, the man in front of her was her only anchor. I paused for a moment, then spoke, each word landing clearly on her heart. "One more thing. I'm a normal man, and you're a beautiful woman. I'm not interested in playing at some platonic arrangement, so you'd better be prepared for that. I'm saving you, not just for your medical skill, but for your body too. No question, no probing, not even a trace of ambiguity." Rachel understood exactly what I meant, of course, and understood too that in this dog-eat-dog apocalypse, relying on the strong was the law of survival. She just hadn't expected me to declare ownership this directly, this dominantly. The panic lasted only a moment, because what I'd stated was, simply, the truth. She took a deep breath, forcing herself to calm down. Compared to being sold off to someone like Coleman by Vincent, the man in front of her, cold as he was, but strong, handsome, and at least somewhat reasonable, was clearly the better option. Her medical skill was worth something. Her body was worth something too. Cruel, but real. She nodded lightly, her voice barely above a whisper, yet clear enough to reach my ears. Understood. The car's engine noise drew quite a few zombies. At least 10 of them started closing in on the minivan. This group of ordinary zombies had poor eyesight and average smell, but astonishingly good hearing. Rachel instinctively tightened her seatbelt, accidentally bumping her pocket. The unlock button on her SUV key was pressed by mistake. Beep beep. A crisp electronic tone rang out abruptly across the complex. Then, that white SUV's lights flashed twice sharply. The zombies that had been drawn by the engine noise were instantly whipped into a frenzy by this clearer signal. Blood-curdling howls erupted from every direction. Stiff, twisted figures shot out and swarmed the white SUV, smashing wildly against its doors and windows. The sturdy window glass shattered like paper under the relentless pounding. In under 10 seconds, that pricey SUV had been reduced to a heap of scrap metal. Rachel clamped a hand over her own mouth to keep from screaming. This was the apocalypse. Hold on, I'm driving now. My eyes went sharp, my right foot slamming the gas to the floor. A roar, Ethan. Rachel cried out in shock, thinking I was going to plow straight into them. But when we were still 5 or 6 yards from the horde, I cranked the wheel hard. The car pulled off a nimble fishtailing drift, the armored rear, and slamming into the outermost zombies. Bang, bang, bang. Those zombies were sent flying instantly, and the vehicle didn't even take a noticeable scratch. I didn't slow for a beat, straightened the wheel, kept the gas steady. The nation's favorite minivan barreled through the zombies blocking the way, rolling over severed limbs on the ground. Rachel's body was thrown hard against the seat back. She gripped the seatbelt tight, watching the zombies outside being effortlessly crushed. She finally understood what "your car was too subpar" had meant. She also understood why this plain-looking minivan deserved to be called a mobile war fortress. Watching me handle the vehicle, weaving nimbly through the ruins, Rachel's expression changed completely, filled with a conviction she'd never felt before and a trace of dependence. My target was clear: the west side of the city, the auto repair shop where I used to work. West Side Auto Shop, it's relatively safe there, I explained briefly, eyes scanning our surroundings warily. When the outbreak hit, it was just me and old Wong on shift. I got out after. There shouldn't be anything else alive in there. Rachel nodded silently, gripping the handle tight. Her nerves, held tense in the temporarily safe environment, finally relaxed, and combined with a sleepless night, she drifted off. I glanced at her tired, sleeping face and didn't disturb her. Just as I'd worried, this car's power really was somewhat lacking. The weight added by the armor made this once economical, practical minivan feel underpowered on complex terrain. On a few slightly steep slopes, I'd only made it through by sheer precise handling. Not enough power. Looks like I need to prioritize an engine upgrade, I murmured to myself. When I woke Rachel up, she blinked in confusion, then quickly snapped alert to find dusk approaching. We're there. She rubbed her eyes, forcing herself awake. Yeah. I unbuckled my seatbelt, scanning the auto shop's front gate. The location was remote, zombies were scarce, the building structure was sturdy, a relatively safe temporary stronghold. More importantly, this place had something I desperately needed: a large quantity of metal. Wrecked vehicle frames, mountains of scrapped parts, all excellent fuel for Fortress Heart. Stay in the car, lock the doors. No matter what you see or hear, no matter who calls to you, don't open the door. As long as you don't open the door, you're safe. Rachel nodded firmly, having witnessed the defensive strength of this car, and completely believed my words. I understand. What about you? She asked instinctively. I can let myself in. My answer was simple and confident. She remembered the earlier scene of me unlocking doors with just a thought, and understood. Not wanting to seem entirely useless, she asked proactively, "Is there anything you need me to do?" My hand, pulling the door handle, paused for a moment, and I glanced back at her. There is. Here's a task for you. From now on, you're in charge of tracking the trending posts on the Survivor Forum every day, especially intel within the Star Harbor City area. Red fog movement, major stronghold locations, information on newly appeared powerful monsters or talent users, important supply points. Anything you think might be useful, write it down. This matters. I handed her a fully charged power bank. Use this, Save your phone battery. Rachel's spirits lifted. This was territory she excelled at: analysis, organization, documentation. She immediately pulled out her hardcover notebook and pen, nodding solemnly. "Don't worry, Ethan. I'll do it right." "Good." I said no more, pushed open the car door, and my figure slipped out nimbly, pulling the door shut behind me with a light click of the lock. She took out her phone and began carefully documenting the information on the Survivor forum. Urgent. Red fog contraction speed increasing. Western and Northern Star Harbor advance rate up to 0.9 miles per day. East and south relatively slower, about 0.75 miles per day. All survivors advised to evacuate southeast. Warning. New mutant zombie appeared in the Eastern District, codenamed Stalker, extremely fast, skilled climber, nocturnal. 3 squads already wiped out. Black Scorpion squad clearing the Southern District Department Store supply point. Ambushed by another squad. Entire team lost. Enemy suspected to have a mind control talent user. High prices offered for anti-inflammatory drugs, antibiotics. Trading food, weapons, women. Location: Old District Air Raid Shelter entrance. Waiting 1 hour only. Bounty notice: hunt down the lone wolf Derek. Provide confirmed location. Reward: 1 pistol with 10 rounds. Dead or alive. Rachel's heart pounded as she read, her pen flying to keep up. These cold, hard words laid bare just how far this world had collapsed. She sorted the important locations, monster characteristics, and faction information into categories. I was right. This information could be a matter of life and death. Just as she was fully absorbed in organizing it, her phone screen suddenly flashed a new WeChat message at the top. The sender's profile picture was a man in a suit, his smile fake and oily. The message was just a few simple words. "Vincent. Rachel, are you there?" Rachel's gaze locked dead onto that jarring message on the screen. Those few simple words sent a chill down her spine. Could Vincent somehow know she wasn't dead? Was this a test? Or a new trap? Disgusting. Rachel muttered under her breath, and without hesitation, swiped it away. In this apocalypse, the wickedness in human hearts far surpassed the fangs of any zombie. I was right. Doubt and betrayal were the norm. Better to get used to it early. Then she turned her focus back to filtering through the information. Meanwhile, inside the auto shop, I moved as familiarly as if I'd come home. My steps were light and quick, my eyes sweeping every corner. The repair shop was a mess. Several cars awaiting repair sat crooked on their lifts, windows shattered. My goal was clear: secure the environment, gather all usable supplies, especially metal. Rounding a flipped-over car lift, I saw my target, Old Wong. Or rather, what Old Wong had become, a zombie. His hands still gripped a large adjustable wrench tightly, frozen in the same bent-over posture he'd had, checking under a chassis at the moment of death. "Old Wong," I murmured, my expression complicated. This quiet, taciturn old master had given me plenty of guidance over the years. A shame, the apocalypse showed no mercy. Without hesitation, I closed the distance quickly, and before it could sluggishly turn around, my right fist, coated in metallic sheen, swung out like a sledgehammer. Bang! A dull crunch, the unmistakable sound of a skull shattering, clear and distinct. Old Wong's zombie body swayed, then dropped straight to the ground. The wrench hadn't even hit the floor before I caught it. I weighed it in my hand, then tucked it into my tool belt at my waist. In this apocalypse, a good, solid blunt weapon was sometimes more practical than a blade. Next came a thorough sweep. I carefully checked the office, the tool room, the parts warehouse, even climbed up to the workshop ceiling. Besides a few trapped low-level zombies I dispatched along the way, the entire auto shop had no other living things left. Security confirmed, I started scavenging. My first target was batteries. I still remembered the minivan's battery was low. Sure enough, the parts warehouse still had a few unopened car batteries. I picked out 3. Then came tools, a full set of wrenches, sockets, screwdrivers, pliers, filling a sturdy canvas tool bag. A few coils of wire, a few boxes of fuses, a few cans of lubricant, small, unremarkable items that could be lifesavers in a breakdown. Parts couldn't be skipped either. Spark plugs, high voltage lines, engine oil, antifreeze, filling another large plastic bin. Finally, food and water. Old Wong had been a frugal man, always keeping some dry rations on hand for overtime. In the corner of his break room, I dug up half a case of bottled water, a few packs of crackers, and 2 bags of beef jerky, and packed it all up. With that done, my gaze fell on the rugged off-road SUV sitting mid-repair in the center of the workshop. This was a modified Jeep Wrangler, chassis raised, fitted with bull bars and spotlights. radiating pure power. Before the apocalypse, this would have absolutely been countless men's dream ride. I focused and activated vehicle scan. Engine misfiring. Transfer case making abnormal noise. Only 4 gallons of fuel left. Fuel economy 9 miles per gallon. My brow furrowed. This car looked intimidating, but was actually half a wreck. I tried communicating with Fortress Heart mentally. Switch the bound vehicle to this target. A cold prompt sounded immediately. Switching the bound vehicle requires 1,000 Fortress points, and the target must be in a drivable condition. Current conditions not met. TCH, switch cars? I'm not even that interested anyway. I curled my lip, a little disappointed. 1,000 points. I only had 122 right now, nowhere close. And besides, this car couldn't even move. More importantly, it was a total gas guzzler. Driving this thing would basically be suicide. Stick to the original plan. Decompose it, cash it in for points. My eyes hardened with resolve. This Wrangler used solid materials, high metal content. A perfect decomposition target. I extended my right hand, pressed it against the cold hood, focused my will, and activated metal control decompose. Decomposing, structural complexity high, decomposition rate approximately 0.5 pounds per second, estimated time, about 66 minutes. Warning, decomposing large, complex metal structures consumes enormous resources. Ensure adequate stamina. Unlike decomposing the gas nozzle earlier, this time the speed was noticeably slower. Looked like structural complexity also determined decomposition speed. I could clearly feel my mental strength and stamina draining rapidly. Soon, a strong wave of hunger hit my stomach. I'd come prepared, immediately tearing open a bag of crackers and washing it down with bottled water in big gulps, all while maintaining the decomposition and staying alert to my surroundings. Time slipped by minute, the massive vehicle body vanishing bit by bit. By the 40-minute mark of decomposition, I'd nearly wiped out all the food I'd scavenged. A strong wave of exhaustion hit me over and over, but I gritted my teeth and pushed through. Finally, when the last chassis crossbeam dissolved into light and vanished, the notification sounded. Decomposition successful. Fortress points gained. 600. Proficiency gained. 600. I felt like all of it had been worth it. Combined with the earlier 122 points, I now had 722. That was enough for a major upgrade or modification next. Should I keep reinforcing the armor? Upgrade the engine for more power? Or try a special modification? Thoughts flashed rapidly through my mind one after another. After catching my breath for a moment, I got ready to pack up and leave, my eyes sweeping habitually across the whole workshop. Then, as my gaze passed over the maintenance pit at Workstation 3, my pupils constricted sharply. The bottom of the pit was empty. Old Wong's zombie corpse, the one I'd personally caved the skull in on, was gone. A chill instantly shot from my tailbone up to the top of my head. When I'd been decomposing the Wrangler earlier, my senses had stayed on high alert the whole time. Absolutely nothing else had entered the workshop. My eyes locked hard onto the edge of the bloodstain on the ground. The blood trail showed an irregular dragging pattern, extending all the way to the dark corner where old, discarded tires were piled up in the depths of the workshop. Old Wong's corpse could not have vanished into thin air. Something was in that darkness. Late into the night on day 8 of the apocalypse, I was dismantling cars for energy in the auto shop when I stirred up a creature lurking in the shadows. It had dragged off the corpse of my just-executed coworker, and now a massive, eyeless maw was aimed straight at me, utterly spent. And this was only the beginning of a brutal fight. That thing's ability to hide itself went far beyond an ordinary zombie's. I heard a teeth-grinding chewing sound coming from the darkness, and instantly understood. Not a zombie, more like some kind of mutant creature. My right hand shot instinctively toward the wrench at my waist. My left gripped the bloodstained knife tight. Badly drained of stamina, I retreated cautiously toward the door, not even bothering to grab the supplies I'd already packed up. I'd barely taken 2 steps back when, by the moonlight filtering through a broken window, I finally made out what was in the darkness. A creature, massive in size, was crouched over Old Wong's corpse. It was about 6.5 feet long, looking exactly like a skinned gecko. No trace of eyes, just a massive maw taking up nearly half its head. Its whole body was covered in grayish-brown skin, as if it could blend into any environment. Could this be a scavenger? A thread I'd glossed over on the forum suddenly flashed through my mind. The post had mentioned that in places where large numbers of corpses piled up, a mutant creature that fed on rotting flesh occasionally appeared. Because of its habit of cleaning up corpses, it was called a scavenger. They usually traveled in packs, weren't very bold, and would flee if they encountered too many people. But there was only this one here. Was it alone? According to the post's description, an ordinary scavenger was only about 1.5 feet long. This one was clearly too large. This had to be at least the leader of a scavenger pack. Just then, the scavenger abruptly stopped moving. Its bloody maw aimed straight at me. Then, without warning, it launched its attack, moving so fast it left only an afterimage. I immediately raised my right hand, holding the wrench crosswise in front of me as a block. A massive force slammed into the wrench, jarring my arm numb, pain shooting through my palm. I stumbled back 2 steps before steadying myself. But in the instant of contact, I twisted my body and drove the knife into its back with the momentum. A clang rang out. The knife, after penetrating 1/2 inch into its skin, actually chipped. My heart sank. I was in terrible shape right now. Continuous decomposition had drained my mental strength and stamina both. Metal armament needed mental strength to power it. Forcing it now would only accelerate my collapse. A pistol? Only 4 rounds, an absolute last resort. And besides, against this thing's terrifying speed, my accuracy would be questionable, and the gunshot would draw even more trouble. Right now, my only real edge was my familiarity with this terrain. I gritted through the sharp pain and dizziness, my eyes sweeping the surroundings rapidly, and a plan took shape instantly. Screech. The scavenger leader, its first strike missed, lunged again, faster this time. I was ready. Instead of taking it head-on, I moved toward the sedan. The instant it lunged in close, I dropped low and slid to the side, narrowly dodging that maw full of razor-sharp teeth. At the same time, my right foot kicked hard at a half-full discarded oil drum beside me. The rolling drum landed right in its path, black motor oil spilling everywhere, catching the creature off guard. Now, as it slid under the car, I flung the wrench in my hand with all my strength. The support arm of a simple hydraulic jack instantly buckled under the impact of the wrench. Losing its only support point, the sedan crashed down hard. Right on target, it landed square on its thick tail. Roar, screech. But this mutant creature's vitality was terrifyingly resilient. Though its lower body was nearly flattened, its razor-toothed maw still lunged toward me. It thrashed desperately. I understood. This thing was about to shed its tail to survive. This time, it meant to tear apart the human who'd wounded it completely. By now, I'd already retreated to a spot 10 feet away, that earlier burst having nearly burned through the last of my strength. I couldn't afford to give it a chance. As I dodged, my eyes fell on the car battery at my feet. My left hand grabbed a lead-acid battery. My right simultaneously pulled a thick copper wire from the tool bag. I directly bound the positive and negative terminals together. Smoke immediately began rising from the connection point, the battery's temperature climbing rapidly. Just as it tore off its tail and lunged at me, jaws wide open. Beast, have a taste of this treasure. I forced my exhausted body to move, shoving the smoking battery hard into its mouth. Roar. The scavenger leader's throat was blocked, and it let out an enraged howl. A blinding blue electric spark erupted inside its mouth instantly. Its whole body's muscles spasmed wildly under the current, the air filling with the acrid stench of burning flesh. Just 2 or 3 seconds. Its violent struggling weakened rapidly, and it finally collapsed, completely still. A piece of hide, shimmering with iridescent colors, fell off its body. I collapsed to the ground, gasping for breath, my body flooded with an exhaustion unlike anything I'd felt before. My vision kept darkening, every breath tugging at pain throughout my entire body. But before I could even catch my breath, rustle, 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 rustle. A dense scuttling sound, hair-raising in its intensity, poured out from every dark corner like a tide. There were dozens of them, over 100 even. Exactly the ordinary scavengers the post had described. They'd clearly been drawn by the leader's dying screech. Countless eyeless heads turned in unison, locking onto me, collapsed on the ground. My heart sank to the bottom. Right now, even lifting a single finger was a struggle. I had absolutely no ability to fight back. It's over. That despairing thought had just begun to rise. But then, something strange happened. Within about 10 feet of me and the leader's corpse, the scavenger pack all stopped in unison. They circled restlessly in place, letting out low hisses, but never dared to take another step forward. Could it be that the sight of their leader's death had shocked them into submission? So much so that, even with me right there within reach, despite outnumbering me massively, they didn't dare attack. But I had no idea how long this standoff would last. I had to get back to the car. Outside, in the minivan, Rachel's head snapped up, her heart pounding wildly. That earlier screech from the direction of the auto shop had made her scalp crawl. Could Ethan be in trouble? Ethan, she cried out in alarm, staring anxiously outside. The auto shop's front gate was shut tight, giving her no view inside, her heart filled with dread. Just then, she saw that heavy rolling shutter door being pushed open a crack from inside. With great effort, a staggering, blood-soaked figure stumbled out. It was Ethan. Inside the car, Rachel's face went instantly white. Through the window, she saw clearly that I was staggering out of the repair shop, weak beyond measure. My right sleeve was torn, revealing a patch of bruised purple beneath, and behind me the workshop burned, thick smoke billowing. A few of the boulder scavengers crawled out through the door gap, and more soon followed. Though they weren't attacking for the moment, there were simply too many. Rachel happened to have just read about scavengers on the forum. Her hand instinctively reached for the door lock switch. Should she rush out to help me? Or at least draw off part of the monsters? Right as her finger was about to press it, she remembered what I'd said before getting out of the car. Stay in the car, lock the doors. No matter who calls to you, don't open the door. As long as you don't open the door, you're safe. That was an order. Open the door? Orders were like mountains. Not open the door? Was she supposed to just watch me get? She watched my stumbling steps, the nearest scavengers now less than 5 feet from me. Just as the first scavenger's claw was about to touch my ankle, Rachel pressed the minivan's horn, honking the horn. That didn't count as disobeying orders, right? The scavengers, startled by the sudden sound, visibly faltered and stopped. Fortress heart, open the door. I willed with all my mind. Click. The driver's side door lock popped open. I burst forth with my last shred of strength, practically collapsing into the driver's seat. My back slammed hard against the seat, the pain blacking out my vision for a moment. Seeing the scavengers behind me starting to accelerate, Rachel grabbed my shoulders and collar with both hands, death grip. Using every ounce of strength she had, she desperately hauled me into the car. Her slender body erupted with astonishing power, veins bulging on her forehead. She gritted her teeth, planted both feet hard against the seat, and dragged my heavy body inch by inch into the driver's compartment. The instant my feet completely cleared the ground, she used her very last bit of strength to slam the door shut. Lock it! My will surged wildly, and all the door locks clicked shut instantly. Bang! Bang! Several scavengers slammed hard into the doors and windows, the whole car body shuddering slightly. Inside safe. That thought flickered through my mind in the last second before I went completely dark. Then my head lolled to one side, and I lost consciousness entirely, dead to the world. Ethan! Ethan! Rachel, seeing me unconscious, immediately threw herself toward the driver's seat. Her trembling fingers found my carotid artery, and beneath her fingertips, a faint but steady pulse. Still alive. Rachel's suspended heart eased a little, but was immediately followed by overwhelming fear. High fever, severe stamina depletion, possibly mild poisoning too. She forced herself to calm down, her doctor's instincts overriding the panic. She was a doctor, and now, this was her battlefield. She quickly reclined the driver's seat, turned and dug through her own bulging backpack in the back seat. She quickly pulled out a first aid kit, basic emergency supplies she'd prepared even before the apocalypse. Alcohol wipes, iodine, gauze, bandages, a few tablets of antibiotics and painkillers, and a small roll of suture thread and needle. Not much, but priceless in this apocalypse. Ethan, forgive me, she murmured, as if steadying her own nerve. She carefully unbuttoned my work jacket, revealing skin swollen and purplish. Near the inside of the elbow joint, there was a fairly deep open wound, the soft tissue badly bruised. Rachel held her breath, using tweezers to dab an iodine-soaked cotton ball, gently cleaning the grime around the wound. Once the wound was cleaned, she pulled out the suture thread and needle, hesitating for a moment as she looked at the gash. The conditions were too crude. No anesthesia, she'd have to stitch it by force. Just bear with it a little, it'll be quick, she murmured softly, unsure if she was comforting me or herself. 30 minutes later, looking at my properly bandaged right arm, her heart settled a little. But the fever was still a major problem. Fever-reducing medication needed water to go down. I was unconscious right now. Forcing medication down could choke me. Rachel's gaze fell on the bottled water. She picked one up, unscrewed the cap, took a small sip herself first to wet her throat, then took a large mouthful and held it. She leaned down, close to me, the distance suddenly closing, her heart racing uncontrollably, her cheeks flushing slightly warm. Calm down. Rachel, you're a doctor. She forced herself to focus, one hand gently prying open my jaw, carefully passing the water from her mouth into mine. After feeding me the medicine, Rachel finally let out a long breath. Though I was still unconscious, my breathing seemed to have steadied somewhat. She found a towel, wet it with bottled water, and carefully wiped down my burning chest and back. The wet towel carried away the sweat, and even unconscious, I seemed to relax a little, my furrowed brow finally smoothing out. My body temperature seemed to drop slightly too. Rachel leaned back against the seat, turning her head to look at my sleeping profile, a complicated tangle of feelings inside her. This man, strong, cold, ruthlessly decisive. He'd saved her, but had also dominantly claimed ownership of her body. And yet just now, to save me, she'd done something that humiliating. She'd never been this physically intimate with a man before, not even with her nominal fiancé, Vincent. Rachel, you really are something, she murmured to herself, her voice carrying a trace of confusion and self-mockery. She didn't know what the future held, but right now, watching me lie there breathing steadily, an inexplicable sense of peace quietly replaced the fear. At least, they were still alive. As long as she watched over me, they were safe. She forced herself to stay alert, checking my temperature and pulse once more. Once satisfied things were stable for now, she curled up in the passenger seat, hugging her knees, staying alert to any sound outside the car. An explosion sounded from far away, and the scavengers outside finally shifted their target elsewhere. Rachel, still holding the towel, finally let her guard down, exhaustion finally winning out over willpower, and she fell into a deep sleep. Actually, my consciousness had already been aware while Rachel was feeding me the medicine. I lay quietly, not moving, watching her exhausted sleeping face. Some hazy fragments flickered through my mind, a soft touch, cool liquid passing into my mouth, a gentle wiping. Those images felt like a dream, somewhat unreal. My gaze fell on my own neatly bandaged right arm, then swept across the tidied-up first aid kit. The corner of my mouth twitched up almost imperceptibly. This woman, she was obedient, more useful than I'd expected. I tried to sit up, but the movement pulled at my right arm, sending a tearing pain through it. I let out a muffled grunt, cold sweat beading on my forehead, and forced myself to hold still. I couldn't wake her. She needed the rest. My gaze drifted outside the car window. The night was deep, the blood moon hanging high. But danger hadn't gone anywhere. I needed to keep watch, and I needed to get stronger. By the deep hours of the night, my body had finally recovered enough that I could move, if only barely. Looking at my 722 fortress points, this was capital I'd bought with half my life. I understood clearly now. I couldn't keep decomposing large metal structures without restraint like that. That kind of overextension had nearly killed me. I pulled out the piece of hide that had dropped from the scavenger leader from my inner pocket. In the dim light, it showed an odd, shifting iridescence, subtly changing hue with the light. Fortress Heart provided more detailed information. Mimic Hide, Elite Tier, contains environmental adaptation energy. Fused into vehicle armor, grants the passive skill Environmental Mimicry, reducing the chance of being spotted by zombies. Good stuff. Reducing detection chance was, at times, more important than the armor itself, especially during nighttime operations or when I needed to lie low. Fortress Heart, perform a special modification, fuse the Mimic Hide into the vehicle armor. I commanded silently in my mind. An invisible pulse of energy instantly enveloped the entire minivan. That layer of matte gray armor on the body seemed to come alive. The surface rippled like water, iridescent light flickering across it. Though the outward appearance didn't change dramatically, the minivan's presence in the world had noticeably diminished. 10 minutes passed quickly. Special modification complete. New passive ability added to vehicle. Environmental Mimicry, detection chance reduced by 50%. It worked. Though it was only a basic tier effect, in this world, a 50% reduction was already incredibly precious. Next, power. That noticeably sluggish acceleration had been a persistent headache for me. My remaining 622 points were just right for an engine upgrade plus special modification. I pulled out the flame iron shavings I'd obtained from the nozzle zombie. Upgrading the engine increases power output, but leads to higher fuel consumption. Using the flame iron shavings for modification can improve combustion efficiency, increasing power while reducing fuel consumption. Fortress Heart. Upgrade the vehicle engine. Fuse in the flame iron shavings. This time, the commotion was far greater than the armor modification. The whole car shuddered slightly. A low hum came from under the hood. Through Fortress Heart, I could sense the cylinders, pistons, and crankshafts splitting from the original 4, becoming 6. A dark red glow flickered and pulsed. The energy of the flame iron shavings, fusing into every key part of the engine. 60 minutes felt agonizingly long as I stayed on full alert. When the completion notification finally sounded, the eastern sky had already begun showing a faint hint of pale white. Engine upgrade and special modification complete. Engine upgraded from V4 to V6. Torque and horsepower each increased 50%, with no corresponding increase in fuel consumption. New passive ability added. Fire affinity, increased tolerance for all types of fuel. Phew, I let out a long breath. Had anyone ever seen a nation's favorite minivan with a V6? Probably a one-of-a-kind in the whole city of Star Harbor. When facing complex terrain, needing a quick escape, a 50% power boost could be the difference between life and death. Best of all, thanks to the flame iron shavings modification, fuel consumption hadn't increased at all. Even better, this meant the engine could tolerate low-quality fuel just fine too. Worth it. I couldn't wait to test out the new engine's power. I glanced at Rachel, still fast asleep, and didn't disturb her. I rolled down the window quietly and walked a circle around the minivan. It really had blended into the surroundings, its presence remarkably faint. Environmental mimicry, not bad. I nodded with satisfaction. Then, gritting through the pain in my right arm, I headed back into the auto shop. Last night's escape had been too rushed. All those hard-won supplies were still inside. Luckily, the pile of supplies in the corner hadn't been disturbed by the scavengers. As I dragged the last plastic bin toward the minivan, the passenger window rolled down. Rachel, just woken, poked her head out, worry on her face. "Ethan, are you okay? Need help?" I stopped, nodded. "Yeah, give me a hand." Rachel pushed the door open and immediately jumped out. "Ethan, let me." She hurried over and reached for that heavy plastic bin. I didn't let go, just shifted slightly to make room. "This one's heavy. You take the small ones." Rachel froze for a second, watching me, pale-faced as I was, steadily lift that several dozen-pound bin, the bandage not even bleeding through. She pressed her lips together, didn't push further, and together we loaded the supplies into the back of the minivan. By then, my gaze had settled on the brand-new car battery in the corner. I walked to the front, popped the hood, and with practiced, efficient movements, swapped out the battery in one smooth sequence. Back in the car, I started the engine. A low, deep roar replaced the previous hum instantly. I lightly pressed the gas. The whole vehicle shuddered slightly, and a powerful surge of acceleration hit us instantly. The power, it's way stronger. Rachel, in the passenger seat, immediately gripped the door handle, afraid of being thrown around. She didn't understand cars, but the before and after difference was too obvious. I steered through a few simple acceleration, hard braking, and turning tests. Engine upgrade, I explained succinctly. I glanced at Rachel and noticed she was looking at the bandage on my arm, worry in her eyes. "Ethan, is your arm really okay? You lost so much blood last night. Maybe you should rest more." Compared to the vehicle upgrade, Rachel seemed far more concerned about my physical state. Without her noticing, she'd shifted from calling me Master Ethan politely to simply Ethan. "Won't die from it." I cut her off, my voice flat. I pulled out instant noodles and a bottle of water from the food bin and tossed them to her. "Eat something." "Ethan, you didn't sleep last night?" Rachel hesitated, but asked anyway. I didn't answer, just picked up the hardcover notebook she'd left on the dashboard. Opened it. Inside, her neat, elegant handwriting, information from last night's forum sweep, sorted by category. Red fog contraction accelerating, northwest Star Harbor advancing 0.9 miles daily. Evacuate southeast immediately. Newly appeared mutant zombie stalker at the old chemical plant site in the East District. Extremely fast, nocturnal, dangerous. The information was concise and clear, key points highlighted. I skimmed through it quickly. "Good work," I said, closing the notebook, a rare moment of approval from me. Rachel's eyes lit up, a flicker of pleased pride crossing her face. She hurried to swallow her food, pointing at 3 spots she'd circled in red on the notebook. "Ethan, I think these 3 places might be our next targets. West District Large Supermarket. The forum says the supplies are abundant, but there are a lot of zombies, possibly an elite monster occupying it. Star Harbor Central Hospital, my old workplace. The pharmacy and equipment storage should still have a large amount of medicine. South District Stadium Shelter, reportedly organized by people with military backing, the largest scale, but entry might require screening." She paused, her doctor's seriousness showing in her eyes. "Ethan, I suggest we go to the hospital. Your arm needs better anti-inflammatory medication to prevent infection. The medicine we have in the car is too limited." I didn't answer right away, leaning back against the seat, my fingers unconsciously tapping the steering wheel. A big supermarket, a big hospital, a shelter. Almost everyone's going to think of those exact same places. A location like that has either already been picked clean, or it's occupied by a powerful monster or faction, turned into a trap. The forum information is a mix of truth and lies. Whoever's saying the supplies are abundant might be trying to lure people to their deaths. Whoever's saying it's dangerous might just be trying to scare off competitors so they can keep it all for themselves. My eyes scanned the map, finally settling on an unremarkable marked point. Here. Sunshine Community Clinic? Rachel leaned in to look. A small community clinic on the edge of the district, in a remote location. Right. Just over a mile in a straight line. After the apocalypse hit, I spent a night there once. It's small, unremarkable. The medicine won't compare to a big hospitals, but the basics, anti-inflammatory, bleeding control supplies, should all be there. Most important thing, a place like that has a much lower chance of being looted, and it's a lot less dangerous too. Rachel thought it over, nodding. Right. Restocking basic medicine first is definitely the safer bet. Should we head out now? Then, as if steeling herself with resolve, she took a deep breath and looked at me. Ethan, you didn't rest last night, and your arms still hurt. Let me drive. She sat up straight, trying to look reliable. I've only ever driven automatic before, but I looked up a manual transmission tutorial last night. I understand the theory. I looked at the eager light in her eyes and stayed silent for 2 seconds. Having multiple drivers wasn't a bad thing, ever. You sure? Sure. Rachel nodded firmly. Fine. I unbuckled my seatbelt and pushed the door open. Switch seats. We quickly swapped positions. Rachel settled into the driver's seat, adjusted the seat and mirrors, took a deep breath. She muttered to herself, left foot on the clutch, right hand on the gear shift. First gear, moving off. She tried shifting into first, slowly releasing the clutch with her left foot. The car lurched hard, the engine sputtering in protest, then stalled. Rachel's face flushed instantly. You let the clutch up too fast, I said beside her, restarting the engine. This time, she carefully lifted the clutch, and when she felt the car shudder, gently gave it gas. The car finally, shakily, started moving. It worked. Rachel's heart lifted, but immediately, another problem appeared. Shifting to second gear. She pressed the clutch, trying to nudge the shifter into second. The shifter seemed stuck, letting out a harsh, grinding noise. Easy, don't force it, I reminded her. Rachel's forehead beaded with sweat, and she finally got the shifter into second. She released the clutch, and the car lurched forward abruptly. Too much gas. I frowned. Rachel, startled, quickly eased off. The car crawled along the uneven road at an awkwardly slow second gear speed. Every time she hit a slightly deep pothole or a slope, Rachel fumbled, and the car repeatedly bounced between stalling and revving. This woman had the theory memorized well enough, but her hands-on execution was an outright disaster. I finally spoke up, a note of helplessness in my voice. Forget it. Just leave it in second gear and drive it like an automatic. Slow is fine. It's less likely to attract zombies anyway. Oh, okay. Rachel felt like she'd been granted a pardon, her taut nerves loosening slightly. She gripped the wheel tightly, eyes wide, staring hard at the road ahead. The minivan crept along through the ruins at under 10 miles an hour. Sure enough, just as I'd said, the zombies we passed along the way completely ignored us. Even brushing right past them, they showed no reaction at all. Still, that little over a mile of road took her a solid hour, though it did give me a good chance to rest. When the low-rise building with the Sunshine Community Clinic sign finally came into view, Rachel let out a long breath. She felt like her whole back was soaked in cold sweat, more exhausted than if she'd stood through 3 surgeries in a row. Ethan, we're here. Her voice carried a note of complete depletion. I stretched, my eyes sweeping over this suspiciously quiet building. The clinic wasn't large. A row of rolling shutters faced the street, most of them now shattered, the interior dark and impossible to make out. There was a narrow alley beside the clinic, leading to a back courtyard. The open space back there was walled on 3 sides, with only one entrance and exit, a fairly hidden spot. Park in the back, it's more concealed there, I said, pointing toward the alley entrance. Okay, Rachel acknowledged, carefully working the wheel. The minivan crept slowly into the alley and finally settled into the shadowed corner of the back courtyard. Engine off, parking brake on. I looked around. The back courtyard was reasonably clean, no signs of zombie activity. I walked to the passenger window and gave instructions. I'll go in first and clear it out. I'll call you once it's confirmed safe. There might be zombies inside the clinic or something else. You're on watch at the courtyard entrance. Contact me immediately if anything happens. Understood. Rachel nodded firmly, her expression serious, pulling out her phone and gripping it tightly. I drew the knife from the back of my belt and quickly slipped through the ajar back door of the clinic, disappearing inside. The car fell silent instantly, nothing but the sound of Rachel's own breathing. She stayed alert, watching all around, minutes ticking by, the back courtyard dead quiet. Rachel relaxed a little, pulled out her phone to keep organizing forum information. Just then, creak. A low engine rumble, growing louder, rapidly approaching the mouth of the alley. A mud-caked black Range Rover slammed on its brakes, stopping brazenly right at the alley entrance, nearly blocking the only way out. The doors slammed open, one after another, 5 men climbing out. Leading them was a shaved-headed, hulking man nearly 6'3". His open leather jacket revealed bulging pecs and tattoos, and in his hand was a chopping knife still dripping blood. Behind the big man followed a lean, sharp-eyed man in glasses, who looked like some kind of strategist type. The other 3, a short, obsequious driver, and 2 stocky men in security uniforms holding steel pipes. The group made quick, efficient work of the zombies trailing their car, clearly showing some real skill. Brother Biao, this is it. Sunshine Clinic. Derek's coordinates check out. The lanky one sidled up to the shaved-headed man, bowing and scraping, pointing at the clinic sign. Derek said this spot is remote, hasn't been swept by any big crew yet. Bound to have medicine. The bald, hulking man they called Brother Biao was none other than Brock, boss of the Black Tiger Gang. His awakened talent was D-tier muscle hardening, his strength far beyond an ordinary person's, a serious force to be reckoned with around here. Brock grunted in acknowledgement, his gaze sweeping over the clinic's rolling shutters. Monkey, take 2 brothers in and check it out. Glasses, you stay outside with me. Got it, Brother Biao. Monkey acknowledged, waving over the 2 security-uniformed enforcers to head in. Just then, that shifty-eyed monkey's gaze happened to sweep across the narrow alley leading to the back courtyard. His footsteps abruptly halted, his eyes going wide. Whoa, Brother Biao. Look, there's a car in the back courtyard. A car? What kind of decent car could there be in a dump like this? Brock frowned impatiently, but still followed the direction of his gaze. Through the gap in the narrow alley, he could faintly make out a boxy minivan parked in the corner of the back courtyard. TCH. Some junky minivan. Monkey, you never seen the world or something? Brock sneered, dismissive. Monkey hopped anxiously, pointing at the minivan's passenger window. No, Brother Biao. Look inside the car. There's someone. A chick. And she's damn gorgeous. Monkey's awakened F-tier talent was vision enhancement. He could see objects clearly from 30 yards away. He was practically drooling now, eyes locked hard on the gap in the window. Getting a clear look at Rachel's elegant profile made his chest go hot. A chick. Brock and Glasses both froze for a second. They trusted Monkey's talent, even if his taste was a bit questionable. But in this precarious apocalypse, a good-looking woman was a scarce resource. How gorgeous could she be? In a shithole place like this? Brock muttered, but his feet had already started drifting toward the narrow alley without him realizing it. Glasses pushed up his frames, a glint flashing in his eyes, and followed. The 3 of them crowded at the mouth of the narrow alley, finally getting a clear look at the figure in the minivan. Her cropped hair was simply tied back, revealing a smooth forehead and elegant neckline. Her refined, striking face carried a hint of exhaustion and tension, which only made her more captivating. Even in her loose athletic wear, her slim, well-proportioned figure couldn't be hidden. Especially her eyes, clear, yet stubborn and alert, instantly ignited the most primal desires of this pack of outlaws. Brock sucked in a cold breath, his eyes going straight, his Adam's apple bobbing involuntarily. Even the usually gloomy Glasses had a flicker of astonishment cross his eyes. Monkey, practically shaking with excitement, said, Told you, Brother Biao, didn't I? This chick's incredible. Hotter than Derek's campus belle girlfriend. Shut up, Brock snapped, though the greed and possessiveness in his eyes were completely undisguised now. He licked his thick lips, forced what he thought was a friendly smile onto his face, and walked toward the minivan. Day 9 of the apocalypse. 5 bandits blocked Rachel with their Range Rover, bragging that her junky minivan would crumple on impact. But when the Range Rover slammed into it full speed, it was their own car that ended up in ruins. And all of this happened because Rachel had simply repeated a line of mine back to them. Your car is too subpar. Thud, thud, thud. Brock used the handle of his chopping knife to rap hard on the minivan's hood. Hey, little lady in there. Get out. Rachel flinched, terrified, her body instinctively shrinking back. Seeing no response, Brock slapped the roof twice more, hard. Don't be scared. Big Brother's not a bad guy. We're the Black Tiger Gang. I'm the boss, Brock. D-tier talent, strength type. Roll with us, you'll live large. See my Range Rover? Top of the line. 100 times better than this junky minivan of yours. He pointed at the black Range Rover parked at the clinic entrance, his tone dripping with superiority. Just behave, and you'll be riding in that car from now on. Monkey chimed in too, leering. Yeah, come on out, pretty lady. Come roll with our brother Biao. Beats sitting in that junky minivan waiting to die, doesn't it? Our crews even got guns. Rachel looked at the faces outside the car, dripping with desire, her stomach churning. She forced herself to stay calm, took a deep breath, and, drawing on some inexplicable courage mixed with her trust in me, said, "No thanks. Your car is too subpar." That line was exactly the one I'd used to describe her SUV. Not loud, but it landed clearly on all three men's ears. The air froze instantly. The smile on Brock's face froze, then flushed a deep liver red. T2 subpar. Monkey jumped up like a cat whose tail had been stepped on, the first to react. The hell are you blind? This is a Range Rover. Top spec V8. What's that thing you're in? Some junky delivery van. He sputtered with rage, incoherent. His beloved prized possession publicly insulted. Damn it. Given an inch, and you take a mile. Brock was completely enraged now, feeling insulted like never before. A woman driving a junky minivan actually dared look down on his Range Rover? Brock sneered, cruelty flashing in his eyes. Monkey, bring the car over. Let old me show you what a real gap looks like. Got it, brother Biao. Monkey scrambled eagerly toward the Range Rover. Soon, the deep V8 engine roared back to life. Monkey, at the wheel, aimed the Range Rover's nose straight at the minivan. Little missy, let me show you what a real steel beast looks like. He floored the gas pedal. A hum, a roar. The Range Rover, with unstoppable momentum, slammed hard into the minivan. Never expecting this pack of men to just start attacking without another word, Rachel gripped the handle tight with both hands. She trusted this car's strength, but she wasn't entirely sure whether it could take an internal hit from 3 tons of momentum slamming into it. A deafening crash. The minivan was pinned against the back courtyard wall by the massive impact. The whole car body shuddered violently, dust filling the air. Ha ha ha. Idiot. Serves you right for acting tough. Brock and the others crowded around, waiting to enjoy the show. That'll teach you, huh? A junky minivan trying to go head-to-head with a Range Rover? Get down here and kowtow an apology, quick. But when the dust settled and the scene came into view, the grin on Brock's face froze. The scene he'd imagined. The minivan crumpled into scrap, never materialized. That unremarkable minivan, aside from a small chip of paint scraped off, was completely unscathed, not even a window cracked. And in contrast, that expensive Range Rover, the front end was severely deformed, the hood twisted and jutting up, the front bumper shattered and hanging off. The headlights were smashed, the radiator ruptured, coolant mixing with engine oil pooling on the ground. Even more absurd, all the airbags had deployed, plastering Monkey's whole face. How is this possible? Brock and Glass's eyes were nearly popping out of their heads. Monkey clambered awkwardly out of the driver's seat, his face red and swollen from the airbag. Brother Biao, this is messed up. Is that thing solid steel or something? Rachel, jolted hard by the seatbelt during the collision, was shaken but otherwise fine besides the fright. At this moment, her trembling fingers were flying across her phone. Message sent. Almost the instant the message went out, Brock snapped back to his senses too. He stormed up to the minivan, roaring, and swung his chopping knife hard down onto the window. You bitch. You setting me up? A crisp clang of metal. The window glass didn't budge, not even a scratch. Brock's palm went numb from the impact, the knife nearly flying out of his grip. Damn it, he cursed and kicked the door hard. The door still didn't budge an inch. Instead, he stumbled back a step from the recoil. Rachel's reverence for me hit its peak in that moment. I'd been right. His car really was too subpar. You bitch. Get out here. I've got plenty of ways to kill you. Glasses, eyes flickering, had noticed Rachel's earlier phone motion and leaned in to whisper to Brock. Brother Biao, that woman just sent a message. She might have backup in there. Brock's eyes went sharp, instantly understanding, and roared at Monkey and the 2 henchmen. So there's backup. Get in there and drag them out. I'm going to skin them alive. Yes, Brother Biao. Monkey didn't dare disobey. He pulled a sawed-off old shotgun from the Range Rover's trunk, waving over the 2 pipe-wielding brothers. Ah Chong, Ah Yong. Follow me. We're not leaving here without settling this. Ah Chong and Ah Yong grunted in acknowledgement, gripping their pipes tight, and the three of them, full of menace, disappeared into the dark doorway. Brock and Glasses stayed put, glaring at Rachel inside the car. Little Missy, you'd better pray your man's got some real backbone. Once my men drag him out, smart move would be to get out of that car now. In this apocalypse, I haven't had a piece this fine in a while. In the dim hallway of the clinic, I'd used metal decomposed to open a room storing medicine. After clearing out 2 zombies wandering inside, a deafening crash sounded from the back courtyard. Then, my phone buzzed in my pocket, and Rachel's message popped up on screen. Ethan, 5 men just showed up outside, driving a Range Rover, tried to ram me. Turns out their car got wrecked instead. Their boss goes by Brother Biao, says he's a D-tier talent user, claims to have guns. Be careful. I put the phone away without a sound, slipping soundlessly toward the clinic's back door. At the end of the hallway, Monkey and the other two's cursing voices were already faintly audible. Damn it. This clinic's creepy as hell. Hurry up and find them. The boss is waiting. I tilted my head slightly, my cold gaze locking onto the shifting shadow at the doorway. 3 prey too foolish for their own good, walking right into my hands. Damn it. Where'd that guy run off to? Monkey, gripping his sawed-off shotgun, scanned the darkness, his eyes flashing an odd light. His F-tier talent, vision enhancement, was like wearing night vision goggles. Even the clutter deep in the hallway was clearly visible to him. This edge was exactly what gave him the confidence to walk point. Monkey, be careful. Whoever wrecked our car has to have some real tricks up their sleeve. Ah Chong, following behind, gripped his pipe tight, watching both doorways warily. Monkey sneered, lifting the shotgun slightly. Scared of what? One blast from this baby'll shred sheet metal. However good he is, can he outrun Buckshot? With these eyes of mine, wherever he's hiding, it's useless. What they didn't know was that, 5 feet ahead, at the hallway's turn, I stood with my back against the cold wall, my breathing slowed to a minimum. Monkey's night vision ability was indeed a problem. He needed to be dealt with first. The moment the 3 of them, unguarded, rounded the corner, right as the barrel of Monkey's gun poked out, I moved. My right hand, coated in metallic sheen, seized the shotgun with pinpoint precision. Monkey never imagined anyone would grab his barrel directly. Die. He instinctively pulled the trigger. Bang boom. A dull sound exploded in the narrow hallway. The expected shotgun spray never came. My armored hand had sealed the muzzle shut, and with nowhere for the gunpowder to vent, it instantly built terrifying pressure inside the barrel. The crude metal barrel couldn't handle it and burst apart right there. Monkey let out a horrific scream. His hands, gripping the gun, took the brunt of it, mangled to shreds, countless metal fragments driving into his face and chest. He stumbled backward into the wall, his body convulsing violently a few times before going completely still. This sudden, horrifying turn of events left Ah Chong and Ah Yong completely stunned. Monkey! Ah Yong screamed in terror, his mind going blank. Damn it! Kill him! Ah Chong reacted a beat faster, roaring as he swung his pipe down at my head. My metallic right hand seized the pipe directly, while my left, knife in hand, flashed like lightning toward his wrist holding the weapon. Ah Chong had no time to block. He only felt a cold sensation on his wrist, followed by a searing pain. The heavy pipe clattered to the floor, his artery precisely severed, blood spraying instantly. Ugh! He barely got out a sound before my right hand had already clamped onto his throat. A light crack, his throat cartilage crushed, and Ah Chong's body went limp, collapsing to the floor. By the time Ah Yong finally snapped out of his shock, all he saw was Ah Chong's corpse and my 2 eyes, utterly devoid of any ripple of emotion. Damn you! Terror and fury ignited Ah Yong's savagery. He raised his pipe, putting his entire body's strength into a swing at my head. Instead of retreating, I stepped forward, my body dipping slightly, my metal-armored right hand meeting the falling pipe head-on. Clang! A crisp metallic clash echoed through the hallway. Ah Yong felt a massive force jar his palms, tearing the skin, but the pipe seemed welded to my arm, not budging an inch. This can't be human? Pure, unfiltered terror finally took hold in Ah Yong's eyes. Even more baffling to him was what happened next. Right before his eyes, that thick, solid rebar pipe rapidly dissolved in my hand. In just 4 or 5 seconds, more than 10 pounds of steel rebar vanished into thin air. A monster. Ah Yong completely broke, turning to flee. But it was already too late. I closed the distance in a single step, my metal-armored right fist punching straight through his back, out through his chest. I shook the blood off my metallic arm, the cold metallic sheen fading, revealing unblemished skin beneath. The entire fight, from the moment I sealed the barrel to finishing off all 3 men, had taken less than 10 seconds. Time was tight. Brock outside could realize something was wrong and rush in at any moment. And besides, he was a talent user too. These past 2 days of fighting, relying on just metal armament alone, had started to feel a bit taxing. I was less than 300 proficiency short of pushing Fortress Heart to level 3. The metal items here had simple structures, decomposing fast. I decided to level up my talent first, unlock new skills. I crouched down, pressed both hands against the shattered shotgun fragments and the pipe, and channeled my will with everything I had. Fortress Heart, decompose. Decomposition successful. Fortress points gained, 15. Proficiency gained, 15. 751 points. Only 249 proficiency short of leveling up. Without hesitation, I moved through the scene like an efficient recycling station, sweeping it clean. Decomposing a discarded steel frame bed, a filing cabinet. Notification sounds rang out one after another. About 15 minutes later, nearly all the decomposable metal in the clinic had been swept away. The exhaustion from decomposing grew stronger and stronger. Finally, the cold notification I'd been waiting for sounded. Proficiency full. Fortress Heart level up. LV2 to LV3. Metal control. Decomposition speed increased 20%. Metal armament range expanded. New feature unlocked. Metal control, a Reaper's Edge, metal resonance. Leveled up. My spirits lifted, and I checked the new features immediately. Reaper's Edge consumes mental strength to condense a throwing knife, which can be launched forward after charging. Metal resonance automatically scans surrounding metal objects, revealing their position through energy ripples, with rare metals highlighted. Just then, outside the clinic, Brock's roaring voice drifted faintly in. "Monkey, what the hell are you 3 dawdling around for in there? Did you find them or not?" The corner of my mouth curled into a cold arc. Level up complete. New skills unlocked. Time to go take care of the remaining 2 small fry outside. Back in the clinic's rear courtyard, Brock's patience had worn thin. That useless monkey. 3 men in there this long. Not even a peep. Glasses pushed up his glasses. "Brother Biao, something's off. It's too quiet. Unless..." All 3 of them went down. "Bullshit. Monkey's got a gun." 3 grown men, taken out silently by some kid. He talked tough, but doubt was already gnawing at him inside. Just then, the clinic's ajar back door creaked open from the inside. A figure emerged slowly. It was me. My face carried a hint of exhaustion from the earlier fight. My expression calm as I swept my gaze over the 2 men in the courtyard, finally settling on Brock. Brock's pupils constricted, and he pointed his chopping knife at me. "Where's Monkey and the others? What did you do to them?" I didn't answer. The instant my gaze touched the 2 of them, an invisible ripple silently spread outward, centered on me. Metal resonance, activating silently. A strange awareness flooded my mind instantly. Every piece of metal within 10 yards became perfectly clear in my perception. Brock's belt buckle, the keys in his pants pocket, the screws inside his chopping knife. Nothing escaped it. Glasses was even more revealing. A metal wristwatch on his wrist, and a compact pistol hidden in his suit's inner pocket, both clearly visible. This feeling, it was like having X-ray vision. My heart settled. This was practically a divine skill for close-quarters combat. "I'm talking to you." Gone deaf. Brock's fury flared further, taking a step closer, his D-tier muscle-hardening talent already gathering. Glasses cautiously stepped back half a pace, his right hand quietly reaching toward his inner pocket, murmuring low, "Brother Biao, careful. This guy took out Monkey. He's probably a talent user too." Instead of retreating, Brock puffed out his chest, looking down on me with condescension. "A talent user? What tier? F or E?" He straightened up, tapping his chest with the chopping knife to show off. "I'm Brock. D-tier talent, muscle hardening. Bulletproof, blade-proof. Even an elite zombie's claws can't scratch me." He pointed at his wrecked Range Rover, then at my minivan, his tone dripping with provocation. "Kid, you've got some skill. I'll give you that. Tell you what, I'll give you a chance. 3 moves. If in 3 moves you can so much as scratch a hair on my body, I'll let you all go." His tone shifted, the lewd light in his eyes growing stronger. "But if you can't hurt me, kneel down and call me Big Brother. As for that little missy in the car, of course, she's mine." Inside the minivan, Rachel's heart leaped straight into her throat. I looked at Brock's confident, arrogant face, the corner of my mouth curling into a cold arc. Perfect. I'd test my new skill on him. 3 moves? Let's see then. I slowly drew the knife from my waist, the the one I'd used to stab the scavenger. Before I even finished speaking, my figure surged forward, the knife flashing a cold arc, driving straight for Brock's chest. Bring it. Brock let out a wild laugh, not dodging at all, even puffing out his chest to meet it. The knife tip drove hard into his chest, but the piercing I'd expected never happened. Instead, it bent upward sharply. Clang! The knife snapped. On his chest, only a shallow white mark, not even a break in the skin. Brock roared with laughter. That's it? That wouldn't even tickle. One move down. Second move, I said flatly, tossing the broken knife aside, clenching my right fist. A layer of matte metal instantly covered my entire right arm. Glasses caught it clearly and immediately warned. Brother Biao. His talent's body enhancement type. Every muscle in Brock's body tensed instantly, bulging out like a thick, layered shell. Come on, let's see how tough that tin arm of yours really is. My metal-clad right fist slammed hard into his arms, crossed and braced in front of his chest. Bang! Like two dump trucks colliding head-on, the concrete beneath his feet cracked instantly. His massive frame stumbled back 3 full steps before he barely steadied himself, and a clear fist-shaped dent had appeared where his crossed arms had blocked. The wild laugh on Brock's face froze instantly. What the hell kind of power was this? He forced down the searing pain in his arms. Second move. Didn't even break my skin. You've lost. Rachel's heart sank to the bottom. This D-tier talent's defense was terrifyingly abnormal. I slowly withdrew my metal-covered right arm, shaking my hand out. Turtle shell, decently tough, I'll admit. Third move. I cut off his boasting, my voice completely flat, without a ripple of emotion. I didn't rush forward this time, just stood quietly in place and raised my right hand. An invisible force field spread out from me, and the air seemed to fill with the sound of countless metal fragments grinding together. Above my palm, a metal throwing blade, about 4 inches long, thin as a cicada's wing, its edges glinting cold, rose up and hovered. Metal control, Reaper's Edge. Charging. My mental strength surged rapidly toward my palm. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. The silvery white glow of the blade grew brighter and brighter, and the surrounding space seemed to warp. What the hell is that thing? The wild grin on Brock's face vanished completely, replaced by fear he'd never felt before. This little throwing knife carried an energy far more terrifying than an elite zombie, times 10. Brother Biao, get out of the way. Glass's expression changed drastically, his hand instinctively reaching for his gun. Dodge? I'm bulletproof, blade-proof. Fear and rage had completely clouded Brock's mind. He channeled his talent to its fullest, his skin turning black like iron, and charged at me with his chopping knife like a maddened bull. Cheap tricks. Dot. Just as he closed in, chopping knife about to fall, a cold glint flashed in my eyes. Go. The Reaper's Edge, charged for over 5 seconds, shot out like a bolt of silver lightning. Fast, too fast. So fast that Brock didn't even have time to bring the chopping knife up in front of his chest. Shoo, a faint tearing sound, and his massive charging body abruptly stiffened. He looked down in disbelief at his own chest. A hole, about the width of a thumb, ran straight through him, front to back, piercing directly through his heart. The Reaper's Edge didn't slow at all, continuing straight through the wall behind him, embedding deep into the pavement further beyond. Brock's mouth fell open, and he managed to force out a few broken final words. Not possible. His prized muscle hardening had proven as fragile as paper in front of that silver light. His massive frame swayed, then crashed to the ground. The entire back courtyard fell into dead silence. Glasses froze in place, ice cold all over, his hand reaching for the gun stopping halfway. What kind of monster was this? Instantly killing a D-tier defense talent user. That was something even a C-tier attack talent user couldn't pull off. Could this guy's talent be B-tier or higher? Even A-tier? Inside the minivan, Rachel's wide eyes were filled with shock. That silver throwing knife, appearing out of nowhere, had instantly killed that bulletproof, blade-proof Hulk, and even punched through the wall. I slowly lowered my right hand, my face noticeably paler than before. Decomposing metal, plus 2 metal armament uses and the final charged Reaper's Edge in succession, had drained my mental strength far more than I'd expected. I coldly glanced at Glasses, frozen stiff. Name. Glasses' legs gave out, and he dropped to his knees. Wang Ming. Everyone calls me Glasses. Wanna live? Yes. I've been dreaming about it. 1 minute. Prove your worth. Wang Ming looked up, a cunning glint flashing behind his lenses. Big brother. I really am useful. That idiot Brock had guts, but no brains. The Black Tiger Gang is just a bunch of thugs. You've got the strength. But even with your strength, it's just the two of you. I know the biggest strongholds in Star Harbor. I know their personnel, supplies, weapons, all of it. You need intel. I got my MBA. I'm great at resource integration and networking. Keep me around, and I can help your crew grow big. Order. I cut him off, my voice flat, without ripple. Wang Ming nodded firmly, right? Strength plus intelligence. That's the way. I, Wang Ming, would be honored to call you my adopted father. I walked slowly closer, stopping about 2 steps in front of him. I don't need self-important smart guys. That line instantly pierced through the last of Wang Ming's false hope, his obsequious smile freezing on his face. Even less do I need someone who serves 3 masters. My voice was chillingly calm. In this apocalypse, trust between people was the most precious thing there was. Betray once, and you'd betray again. No, big brother. Let me explain. I'm just being smart about. Wang Ming still tried to argue. I'll only ask you once. Whether or not you tell me everything you just mentioned, there's only one ending either way, death. Wang Ming looked at me, his last shred of hope shattering. Ha, fine. I'll talk. He suddenly laughed, an unhinged edge to it. At the same time, his right hand slipped stealthily into his pocket, reaching for that pistol. But that small movement didn't escape my metal resonance. A hum. My right foot instantly covered itself in matte metal sheen. Without a shred of hesitation, my right foot lashed out like a metal whip, shattering Wang Ming's right wrist into a mess of fractures. His whole body flew back 10 yards, and he collapsed on the ground clutching his broken hand, the agonizing pain racking his entire body in convulsions. He looked at me, eyes full of venomous hatred. Bastard. You're something else. You know who's behind us. The Black Tiger Gang is nothing. We're just a small squad under the Falcon Alliance. Derek. Young Master Derek. Ever heard of him? Star Harbor's Derek family's eldest son. It's him. Derek? That rich second-generation heir who drove a modified BMW SUV, who'd stolen all my supplies right in front of my face, who'd kicked me flat on the ground. That rich kid who'd called me a bottom-feeding piece of trash, only fit to wait for death. Wang Ming caught the murderous intent flashing deep in my eyes, and thinking he'd successfully enraged me, a twisted look of satisfaction crossed his face. That's right. It's that arrogant young Master Derek, with his awakened C-tier talent. The Black Tiger Gang works for him, specifically clearing out small, outlying strongholds, collecting supplies, and women. You think killing a few of us is the end of it? I already reported your info. This car, that pretty woman, straight to young Master Derek. Ha. Young Master Derek's men will find this place soon. You're finished. That woman's going to end up someone's toy eventually anyway. His words cut off abruptly. A flash of cold light, and I'd kicked his skull to pieces. No hesitation, no more words. The moment I heard Derek's name, confirming the lead to my enemy, I'd already decided his fate. With that done, I turned and headed toward the minivan. Click, the door unlocked. Rachel immediately pushed the door open and got out, her face a little pale, but her eyes far clearer than before. She glanced at Wang Ming's corpse on the ground, then quickly looked away. Ethan, she said softly. I acknowledged, raising a hand to point toward the clinic's back door. It's safe in there now. Zombies and trash both cleared out. Go inside to the pharmacy, sort through everything usable, and pack it into boxes. I'll come get it in an hour. Understood. Rachel didn't hesitate at all, nodding immediately and hurrying toward the clinic's back door. I watched her figure disappear, then looked down at the bodies scattered around. Derek, Falcon Alliance. My eyes turned cold, and I turned to get back into the driver's seat. Virum. The minivan adjusted its angle, pressing the side rear door flush against the clinic's back door. With the car blocking the entrance, as long as Rachel didn't wander off, it should be safe for the hour. I leaned back against the seat and closed my eyes. Continuous fighting had left me needing a brief moment to catch my breath. At the same time, I needed to give real thought to my revenge plan. Across the city, in the East District, inside a fortified, converted standalone villa, a man in a tactical vest was irritably flipping through a mountain of reports piled on the desk. He was one of Derek's confidants, in charge of intel filtering, codenamed Black Bear. Damn it, more garbage information. Black Bear cursed and crumpled up a report, tossing it into the trash. The report came from an outlying squad called the Black Tiger Gang, claiming to have encountered an unidentified attack at Sunshine Clinic in the West District. 5 men suspected wiped out. The attacker apparently had a vehicle with abnormally freakish defense, one that had even wrecked their Range Rover. A minivan wrecking a Range Rover? Is that idiot Brock high on something? Black Bear sneered contemptuously. This kind of garbage info still dares to get reported up? Waste of my time. He casually tossed the report into the trash. In his view, this was either Brock, in his dying moment, having gone insane and babbling nonsense, or some squad making up an excuse to keep supplies for themselves. This kind of information didn't even qualify to reach young Master Derek's desk. He was far more concerned with intel on the fight for the South District Grain Depot. As for that remote little clinic in the West District, who cared? Back at Sunshine Community Clinic, in the rear courtyard, I leaned against the driver's seat, replenishing food and recovering strength. My metal resonance passive worked like radar, covering a 10-yard radius. Suddenly, a short, sharp cry came from deep inside the clinic, Rachel's voice. I opened my eyes instantly, my right hand instinctively going to my pistol. But according to metal resonance's feedback, aside from Rachel and a slowly moving small cart, there was nothing else stirring inside the clinic. A few seconds later, Rachel came back to the car, and seeing my alert expression, quickly waved her hands. It's nothing. I just scared myself. There are 3 bodies in there, kind of gruesome. She didn't finish, but I understood. It was Monkey and the other 2. Killed by a misfired shotgun, a slit throat, a punctured heart. Of course, the state of the bodies wasn't pretty. As a doctor, Rachel had seen plenty of bloody scenes before, but this kind of up-close, direct confrontation with violent killing still hit her hard. You'll get used to it. Take your time. I acknowledged, then leaned back against the seat again. Understood. Rachel nodded firmly, turning and heading back into the clinic, forcing herself to focus on the pharmacy shelves. Just as I'd expected, though the clinic was small, it hadn't been looted many times. Amoxicillin, 2 boxes left. Iodine, 3 unopened bottles. Saline solution, a full 10 packs. She worked briskly, sorting the medicine and equipment she found into a hard plastic bin by category. When she reached the family planning section shelf, her steps halted. In the corner, a few unopened boxes of condoms lay scattered. Rachel's cheeks flushed instantly red, remembering the line I'd said when I rescued her. Your body belongs to me. As a doctor, she understood better than anyone what pregnancy would mean in this apocalyptic environment, and what a burden it would be for the whole team. Without hesitation, she added those boxes of condoms to the transport bin as well. Within an hour, Rachel dragged that heavy transport bin, a little strained, over to me. Besides medicine, the bin also held a few bottles of medical glucose and nutrient solution, both medical resources and emergency food. I pushed the door open and got out. Rachel didn't want to trouble me. Ethan, I've got everything sorted. I'll carry it. I didn't say anything, just reached out to take the bin. I can manage. Before she'd even finished, her hand suddenly slipped, and the bin lurched downward. Ah, Rachel cried out. I reacted instantly fast, my arm shooting out to catch the bottom of the bin steady. But at the moment it tilted, a few brightly colored small boxes tumbled out, landing right by my feet. Rachel's face flushed a deep red, like a ripe tomato. She fumbled to pick them up, then felt overwhelmingly embarrassed, stammering an explanation. This is a necessary precaution. The risk of unintended pregnancy is too high. As a doctor, I have a responsibility. Her voice trailed off smaller and smaller, her head sinking lower and lower. I bent down and picked up a box of condoms, glancing at the size printed on the packaging. Then I looked up at Rachel, who looked like she wanted to dig a hole and crawl into it, the corner of my mouth twitching upward. I casually tossed the box back into the bin. This size is too small. I used the large ones. Rachel. I'd said something completely ordinary, but in Rachel's ears, it landed like a declaration of intent. Suddenly, her mind flashed back to the sight of my arm and calf covered in metal armor during the fight. Could it be that I could turn any part of my body? Could his body actually handle it? The more she thought about it, the more she felt all her blood rushing to her face, even the tips of her ears burning hot. I, of course, had no idea what was going through her head. I lifted the transport bin with one hand and easily loaded it into the back of the minivan. Get in, time to go. I settled back into the passenger seat and started the engine. Rachel, face still red, climbed into the driver's seat and handed me the notebook. Take a left at the next intersection, a bit over a mile ahead. There's a discount supermarket. It's remote, might not have been looted yet. I grunted in acknowledgement and closed my eyes. But her mind was clearly not on the road at all, and the wheel swerved, nearly hitting a wall. What's wrong? I opened my eyes instantly. Sorry, I got distracted. Rachel's face went pale. I frowned and raised a hand to rub my temple, but my right hand suddenly seized up in a spasm. On my forearm, That wound the monster had slashed open, a dark blue-black, was spreading upward like something alive. Rachel saw it clearly and hurriedly pulled over, leaning across to check. Your arm. Let me see. The skin around the wound was terrifyingly hot, the blue-black spreading up along the vein toward my shoulder. Not good. It's the zombie's toxin taking effect. Rachel's heart sank to the bottom. The forum had mentioned that people attacked by certain special zombies would develop high fever, intense pain, and eventually either die or lose their humanity and turn into monsters. She scrambled to find medication, trying to force it into my mouth. Take this. Open your mouth, quick. What answered her was a burning hot hand suddenly clamping down on her wrist. My eyes, once calm, now held nothing but the most primal animal instinct. The toxin had completely overwhelmed my rationality, and I pinned her hard against the narrow back seat. No, it's me. Rachel. She struggled in terror, but it was utterly futile. In despair, she remembered what I'd said. Your body belongs to me. Maybe this was her fate. She stopped struggling, closed her eyes, tears sliding silently down. If this can make you feel even a little better. But watching the flicker of anguish struggle in my eyes as I fought the toxin, a powerful thought suddenly seized her. I can't let him die. I can't let him turn into a monster. Just then, the red sun in the sky suddenly fired down a beam of light. Rachel's eyes snapped open, a gentle force enveloping her. She never imagined she would awaken her own talent this way. She could clearly see through the twisted, spreading dark green toxin inside my body. I won't let you die. I'm your doctor, and I'm your woman too. She poured a surging, powerful stream of life energy continuously into my body. Milky white light instantly enveloped me, and everywhere it touched, the dark green toxin was rapidly destroyed. Corroded, rotting flesh sloughed away, fresh muscle knitting back together at a frantic rate. Ugh! I let out a roar, then my eyes rolled back, and I passed out completely. I don't know how much time passed before I abruptly opened my eyes, my body flooded with a fullness I hadn't felt in ages. The wound on my arm had vanished without a trace, the toxin and burning sensation in my body completely gone. This absolutely couldn't have been achieved through natural recovery alone. I vaguely remembered, at some point, a warm force had surged into my body, suppressing the toxin. She had saved me. Beside me, Rachel slowly opened her eyes, her pale face flushing red, not daring to meet my gaze. I think I've awakened a talent. She took a deep breath. What ability? My pupils constricted. An A-tier talent. Even across the whole city of Star Harbor, that was top-tier combat power. A-tier talent, Healer's Heart. Passive skill life insight, can see through toxins and abnormalities inside another person's body. There's also an active skill, Life Transfer, that can convert my life force to heal a target. But the effect is limited, and it's very draining mentally. She deliberately downplayed it, though her eyes flickered away for just an instant. She didn't want to say it, the cost of burning through 10 years of her lifespan. But her pale complexion, her lips utterly drained of color right now, that weakness couldn't be hidden from me. That was clearly far more than simple mental exhaustion. It was a drain on her very life force. I reached out, gently brushing my fingertip across the corner of her eye, not pressing further. I took off my work jacket and draped it gently over her, my voice low. I know. Let's head to the supermarket. You need to replenish your strength. No thanks, no comfort. In this apocalypse, words were the cheapest thing there was. But I noted down what she'd sacrificed. Rachel looked up abruptly, gazing at my hard, cold profile. So he'd known all along. She pulled the jacket tight around herself, tears sliding silently, but the corner of her mouth curved up slightly. So in this cold apocalypse, she wasn't alone after all. I stared straight ahead, my gaze deep and thoughtful. Healer's Heart, an A-tier talent, enormous potential. This passive, life insight, was practically a godsend ability in the apocalypse. The minivan drove toward the discount supermarket on the ground floor of a residential building. The rolling shutter had been violently forced open, a few zombies wandering the street corner. I parked the car in a concealed spot along the side of the supermarket. With environmental mimicry active, the minivan's presence dropped to a minimum. I drew the compact pistol I'd seized from Wang Ming from my waist and handed it to Rachel. Take this, 7 rounds left. There's a shooting tutorial on the forum. Learn it yourself. Unless I come back, or you're absolutely certain it's safe, don't get out of the car. Protect yourself and wait for me. Rachel looked at the surprisingly heavy pistol in her hand. This wasn't just a weapon. It was a form of recognition too. Okay, be careful. I'll be waiting. I hugged the wall as I approached the supermarket entrance. metal resonance scanning the surroundings like an invisible radar. Nothing unusual within 10 yards. I dropped low, slipping in through the half-open rolling shutter. The supermarket's lighting was dim, shelves knocked over every which way, clearly looted more than once. I moved quickly, sweeping through areas not yet emptied out. Compressed biscuits, bottled water, canned luncheon meat. Good stuff. I stacked the supplies in the corner of the back hallway, planning to haul it all out in one trip later. Just then, metal resonance suddenly caught a powerful metallic signal, coming from right outside the front entrance. Not a zombie, modified vehicles. Accompanied by the deep rumble of engines, 3 black off-road vehicles screeched to a stop in front of the supermarket. Over a dozen fully armed men jumped out, uniform black tactical gear, everyone carrying an assault rifle, moving fast and coordinated. They quickly dispatched the zombies trailing them, showing serious firepower. The one leading them had his face covered by a mask, hawk-like eyes sweeping the entrance. Target signal confirmed. Little Bear must be hiding in there. Fan out. Cover every exit. Don't let a single rat escape. The higher-ups want her alive. Yes, Brother Scar. Their gear and the logo on the vehicles matched what I'd seen on the forum. This was Derek's elite squad, the Falcon Alliance. My heart sank a little. This crew was on a whole different level from the ragtag rabble I'd dealt with before. Just then, metal resonance picked up something odd. In a narrow gap between fallen shelves, someone was operating a tablet. Could this be who they called Little Bear? The exits were already sealed off. I didn't move rashly. I needed to observe first. If I revealed myself now, I could end up caught between the armed squad and this Little Bear, both in a pincer situation. Search. That little runt's slippery as hell. Scar's voice rang out at the entrance. Suddenly, metal resonance clearly saw the target hiding in the gap extend a slender hand. Her fingertips aimed at a few toy drones on the floor, and a stream of mental energy flowed through her fingers into them. Several dead drones flared their red lights wildly, launching a suicide dive bomb attack at the nearest team member. Damn it, drones. That team member, caught off guard, reflexively pulled the trigger. Rat-tat-tat. The gunshots became the most direct trigger, and the already tense team instantly descended into chaos. Friendly fire. Suppressing fire. Gunfire erupted throughout the supermarket. Everyone stopped firing, damn it. It's Little Bear messing with us. Scar's furious roar had no effect at all. Just as the chaos reached its peak, a piercing overload screech blasted out of everyone's tactical earpieces, right against their eardrums. My ears, more than a dozen men were instantly deafened, scrambling to rip off their earpieces. The real killing blow arrived now. The supermarket's glass curtain wall shattered with a boom. A junked, abandoned Tesla crashed into the store like an artillery shell, plowing straight through 3 team members. There was no one behind the wheel of that electric car at all. The drones, the earpieces, the electric car, all of it was this Little Bear's doing. Metal resonance caught it. That tablet had dropped to the floor. Now was the moment. I slipped out from behind a cooler, closing the distance to the shelf in a few quick steps, and flipped up the partition. A petite figure was curled up inside, standing at most 5'1", wearing an oversized hooded sweatshirt. She clutched a tablet tight to her chest, the screen flashing. Data overload. Warning. The next second, blood gushed from both her nostrils, and her body went limp, collapsing forward. Overuse of talent side effect. I moved fast, catching her limp body before it hit the ground, impossibly light. I glanced at the tablet. The screen scrolled with complex code, even a login interface for a military logistics system. A top-tier hacker. That phrase flashed instantly through my mind. In this world where information was power, what did it mean to have a top-tier hacker who could crack military databases and paralyze enemy systems? No wonder Derek would go through the trouble of sending an elite squad just to capture this Little Bear alive. Damn it. It's a trap. That little bitch has backup. Kill him. Scar's roar sounded. Though temporarily deafened, his combat experience let him lock onto my position at first instinct. Time was life. I scooped up the tablet with my left hand, tucking it into my jacket, and slung the girl over my shoulder like a sack of grain with my right. Don't shoot. Don't hurt Little Bear. Scar immediately roared. They wanted her alive. I gambled that they wouldn't dare fire, and drove my legs, sprinting toward the back door. Stop him. The 2 nearest team members lunged at me, swinging their rifles like clubs. Metal armament. A layer of matte metal covered my right arm. Clang, clang. The rifle stock striking my arm bent instantly out of shape, the 2 men's palms splitting open, their weapons flying loose. My metallic right arm swept out in a wide arc, and both men were sent flying with screams, crashing through a shelf. Shoot. Aim for his legs. Gunshots rang out again, bullets aimed at my lower body. I dropped low and lunged forward, but a stray round still grazed my right outer thigh, a spray of blood following. I rolled with the momentum, my right hand drawing the pistol like lightning. Bang, bang, bang. 3 shots. 3 team members attempting to flank me dropped instantly. Die, damn it, I shouted, carrying the girl toward the back door. I flung her body backward slightly, using her back to shield against incoming bullets. Scar's rifle muzzle instinctively lifted an inch. That instant of hesitation was all I needed. My right hand raised the pistol toward Scar and pulled the trigger, the last round grazing his scalp. Scar immediately dropped down behind cover. Team C, kill them for me. 2 team members near the back door immediately raised their rifles, but I was faster. Guided by metal resonance, I'd already predicted their positions. I raised my right hand, a silvery glow flaring in my palm, the metal reaper's edge. The silver-white blade turned into a streak of death. Shoo shoo. 2 faint sounds, and the throat of the nearest team member burst open in a spray of blood, the blade's momentum unbroken, punching straight through the man behind him too. Neither had time to even scream before they collapsed. Is this even human? Scar's scalp crawled. A 12-man elite squad, wiped down to just him alone by Little Bear and me combined in a mere 2.5 minutes. Just then, an engine's roar sounded from the back door. A Wuling Hongwang minivan smashed straight through the back door, blocking my path. Ethan. Rachel bit down hard on her lip, both hands gripping the wheel tight. Scar's dense hail of bullets pelted the car body like hail. Clang, clang, clang. Sparks flew, but the vehicle's body didn't show even a hairline crack. What the hell kind of car is that? Scar's eyeballs were about to pop out of his head. Earlier, before making my move, I'd sent Rachel a voice message telling her to drive straight through the back door. Scar, terror gripping his very soul, fumbled his satellite phone out, his voice choked with a sob. Headquarters. Target Little Bear has been abducted by an unknown force. They're monsters. The squad's completely wiped. A cold silhouette appeared behind him. A metallic palm clamped around his throat. Help! His cry for help cut off abruptly. Crack! The sound of bone breaking was unnaturally clear inside the supermarket. I released my grip, not even glancing at the body, ruthlessly decisive, leaving no loose ends. Ethan, are you okay? Rachel's voice was full of worry. She saw the figure slung over my shoulder, her eyes sweeping over the bloodstains on my pant leg. I'm fine, get in the car. I pulled open the sliding door and set the girl I was carrying down inside. The girl was still unconscious, looking at most 15 or 16, still carrying a childish quality, like a middle schooler. Rachel looked at the girl in the back seat, instinctively straightening up slightly, then glancing at the flat build of the girl's frame, feeling an inexplicable flicker of irritation. Did this man actually prefer this younger, undeveloped type? The thought struck even her as ridiculous. Who is she? Rachel deliberately kept her voice light. Spoils of war. Also possibly our future teammate. Check her over. Hearing teammate, Rachel's doctor instincts instantly overrode that flicker of jealousy. Life insight activate. An invisible gaze passed through the girl's skin. Severe mental strength depletion, mild brain concussion, long-term malnutrition, but not life-threatening. Needs rest. Her eyes flickered, and she asked tentatively, "Do you want me to burn some of my life force to help her wake up faster?" She wanted to know, between this girl and herself, which would I choose? I answered almost without hesitation, immediately raising a hand to stop her. No. Burning your life source? Absolutely not. Just get her stable, that's enough. Her value is in her brain, not her body. I need a teammate who can contribute long-term, not a one-time use asset. Rachel's heart eased slightly. So in my mind, she wasn't something to be casually used up. Understood. She dug out glucose and nutrient solution to replenish the girl's energy. As if remembering something, I quickly added, "Turn off every electronic device in this car, all of it." This girl's talent is probably related to controlling electronics. Until we're sure it's safe, any electronic device is a threat. I thought of the drones and the Tesla back in the supermarket, still feeling a chill. Rachel immediately powered down all the phones and other devices, tucking them into a metal toolbox and hanging a mechanical padlock on it. You watch over her, handle her injuries. If she tries to fight back, shoot her. I dropped that line, then went to gather the remaining supplies. As I carried the last box, my eye caught a backpack in the corner, the girl's belongings. A slightly worn teddy bear charm hung from the front. I flipped it over. Tucked in the back pocket was a Star Harbor University student ID card. The photo showed a girl with twin pigtails, still baby-faced, with large amber eyes carrying a timid look. Name, Rosie. Age, 17. Star Harbor University, School of Computer Science and Technology. 17 years old, but already a senior? But she looked like she was 15, 16 at most. Star Harbor University. That was where I used to study, the same school Maya and Derek attended too. A piece of campus gossip flickered instantly through my mind. 3 years ago, Star Harbor University had, in fact, given a special admission to a 14-year-old prodigy girl. The headline still stuck in my memory. National Information Olympiad perfect score earns special admission. Youngest freshman in university history. Apparently, because she was so young and had skipped so many grades, she was withdrawn and antisocial, spending most of her time absorbed in code, headphones on. Campus forums also circulated stories that she could easily hack into the school's administrative system, even breach a well-known security firm's firewall within minutes. So this was her. This little bear, whom Derek valued so highly he'd sent an elite squad to capture alive. A top-tier hacker with the ability to control electronic devices, plus the identity of a genius prodigy. My mobile war fortress needed exactly this kind of mind, one who could master information, breach systems. I tucked away the student ID, along with the teddy bear charm, back into her backpack. After the supermarket battle, I walked over to the corpses of the dozen-plus armed team members. Metal resonance instantly covered 10 yards. Guns, magazines, military knives, all clearly reflected in my mind. I moved like a dismantling technician, quickly stripping every piece of gear. 5 well-maintained assault rifles, 2 standard-issue pistols, plus nearly 1,000 rounds of rifle ammunition, 200 rounds of pistol ammunition. This time, I genuinely restocked the arsenal. All standard-issue gear, not black market goods. Looks like Derek's Falcon Alliance has some serious ties to the military. The spoils piled up into a small mountain in the back seat. Ethan, there's too much stuff. The car's almost full, Rachel said, looking at the back seat with barely any room left to stand. If it doesn't fit, dump what's least important. Prioritize food, medicine, ammunition. I pried open the trunks of the 3 off-road vehicles too, finding military rations, bottled water, and 40 liters of gasoline. My minivan's fuel was running low anyway. I filled it right up. The minivan had truly become a mobile supply warehouse. How is she? I asked while driving, glancing at Rosie, still asleep. Rachel activated Life Insight. Her mental strength is recovering slowly, severe malnutrition, needs rest, no life-threatening danger. I tossed Rosie's student ID to her. Her name's Rosie, 17, computer science major at Star Harbor University, a genius hacker. The one the forum's been calling Little Bear. Has to be her. The Falcon Alliance was capturing her to exploit her ability. So can we trust her? That's why I need you watching her. Until she proves her worth, proves she's trustworthy, she's a prisoner. If she makes any suspicious move, you know what to do. Growl. A stomach growling broke the silence. Rachel's cheeks instantly flushing red. I reached into the supply pile and pulled out a can of beef, popping it open and handing it to her. Eat something. You burned through a lot back there. Rich meat aroma filled the cabin. Since the apocalypse hit, she hadn't smelled such pure meat scent in a long time. Thank you. A simple couple of words, but they still warmed something in her. My gaze landed on a line in her notebook. Golden Bridge Building Materials Market. Suspected elite tier mutant zombie present. High danger level. A building materials market, especially the steel section, was basically custom built for Fortress Heart supply runs. The minivan storage space was seriously running short, and a vehicle upgrade was becoming urgent. And that simple structured steel would be the best decomposition material. As for the elite zombie, killing it might yield a core and special modification materials. Risk and opportunity in equal measure. We're heading here. I cranked the wheel, driving hard toward the Golden Bridge Building Materials Market. Outside the window, the blood moon quietly climbed the sky. With environmental mimicry active, as long as we didn't go too fast, night driving was reasonably safe. Soon, we arrived at the Golden Bridge Building Materials Market. But the scene before us was completely different from the deserted ruin we'd expected. A massive blue roof stretched out in rolling waves, the whole area walled and high on all sides, and at the entrance stood several black-clad guards holding rifles. Guards? Someone's already claimed this place. Rachel's heart leapt into her throat. I slowly slowed down, metal resonance already scanning. For rifles, a few controlled item blades, no heavy weapons, but a decent number of people. A man in camo fatigues, holding a shotgun, rapped on the window. Get out. Inspection. State your business. I rolled down the window and said calmly, "Just passing through, looking for something." The guard pointed to a notice board by the gate. "This is the Golden Bridge shelter under the Iron Shield Alliance. Protected by our boss, Red, B-tier talent, Berserker's blood. All the zombies inside have been cleared out. Looking to take shelter inside? Payment in supplies, by head count. Your vehicle counts as 5 people. B-tier talent?" I understood immediately. To claim a place this size as a shelter, they had to have at least 200 people under them. This was exactly the kind of relatively safe location I needed right now. There are only 3 of us. I shifted slightly, blocking the guard's view of Rosie in the back seat. I pulled a bag of vacuum-sealed rice and 2 bottles of water from the supply bin, handing them over. "Enough?" The guard waited, satisfied, waving us through. "Go on in. But remember, if anyone tries anything in this shelter, they're picking a fight with Boss Red." The heavy iron gate slowly cracked open. Just as the vehicle rolled in, I caught, out of the corner of my eye, Rachel's body suddenly stiffened beside me. Her eyes were locked dead on something just inside the gate. A man had his arms around 2 heavily made-up women, groping them without a shred of shame. Rachel's chest heaved violently, murderous rage burning in her eyes. This was the first time I'd seen her react this strongly. "You know him?" I'd already memorized the man's face. "His name is Vincent," Rachel forced out through gritted teeth. "My damn fiancé." So it was him. The very man who'd sold out her location for 2 packs of cigarettes, nearly landing her in that monster's clutches. A flicker of coldness passed through my eyes, and I said, in a voice only she could hear, "Don't rush it. He's right there. He's not going anywhere." Vincent seemed to notice the minivan too, his gaze sweeping over the passenger seat for a moment, pausing. Something about that woman felt familiar. The minivan drove deeper into the market. The main road had been cleared, and a scattering of survivors gathered in small groups in the corners. I set my sights on a large pile of steel materials, where a big shipping container could serve as a temporary shelter. Right here, I killed the engine, using metal armament to decompose the container's ruined lock, and pulled the door open. Inside were wooden panels laid out for flooring, a few steel frame beds, far better than sleeping out in the open. I backed the minivan up so the rear end sat flush against the container door, like a moving wall sealing the entrance. Then I set up a rifle aimed at the observation gap. With the car blocking the door, a rifle at the window, plus environmental mimicry, our defenses were solid. I carried the unconscious Rosie in and laid her on one of the cots. Just then, footsteps sounded. "Hey, Boss Red, I'm here." That beat-up minivan, blocking the container entrance, doesn't look like anyone's inside. Rachel's body instantly went rigid. It was Vincent's voice. The footsteps stopped by the minivan, Vincent circling around at once, a lighter clicking, the smell of cheap cigarettes drifting in. He relaxed, muttering to himself, every word carrying clearly into the container. "Tish, that woman just now really looked like that bitch Rachel. I chased after her for so long, never even let me touch her hand. Apocalypse now, though. A pretty piece like hers probably already some boss's plaything to relieve his stress." Inside the container, Rachel's breathing turned suddenly ragged, her whole body trembling with rage. He kept going, growing more vulgar by the word. "This world's actually pretty damn great now. All those campus belles who wouldn't even look at me before, now they'd kneel and grovel for a piece of bread. If I ever ran into that bitch Rachel here, I'd make sure she got a taste of..." Just then, Rachel took a step forward, cupping my face with both hands, and without a second thought, kissed me. The kiss carried a hint of clumsiness and resolve. I froze for a moment, then hooked a hand behind her head, taking control instead. She breathed rapidly, gasping out in a whisper, "I took medicine this afternoon. It's effective for 72 hours. As a doctor, she knew exactly what she was doing. I looked at her deeply for a moment, then swept her up in my arms and carried her deeper into the container. Outside, Vincent suddenly heard sounds of Rachel losing herself completely, coming from inside the container. He never connected that sound with Rachel at all. In his mind, she was the type of ice queen who'd never even hold hands, let alone anything more. Vincent, sleazy as ever, leaned in close to the crack, eavesdropping. "No way? Someone's getting busy in there. Pretty into it too. This chick sounds even wilder than those minor celebrities I've been with. Maybe I can get a turn with her later, share her with the boys." Before he finished, a heart-wrenching scream erupted from the other side of the market. Vincent flinched, his whole body shuddering. That creepy sound again. 5 people already went missing in the shelter last night. Before his words even finished, he felt a sudden chill on the back of his neck. A metal hand shot out from the container's steel wall, striking precisely against his carotid artery. Vincent's vision went black, and he collapsed without so much as a grunt. Rachel, panting, looked up to see the limp figure outside the door. Is he dead? I turned my head and said matter-of-factly, no. He's yours. I dragged the limp Vincent inside. Rachel, wrapped in my jacket, stared down hard at this man who had once been her fiancé. I handed her a military knife. Yours. Handle it yourself. Rachel shook her head, pulling a scalpel from the medical kit instead, the tool she'd once used to save countless lives. She poked the handle against Vincent's philtrum. Ugh! Vincent snapped abruptly awake, and seeing the beautiful face in front of him, his pupils constricted, then flooded with delighted surprise. Rachel, it's really you. Thank God. You're alive. I knew you'd be fine. Don't move. Care to explain the thing with Coleman? Rachel's blade tip pressed against his throat. Vincent's mind raced, trying to shift all the blame for selling her out. Otherwise, there was only death waiting for him. He forced a smile. Rachel, that day, I was forced. Coleman's a talent user. If I hadn't told him where you were, he'd have killed me. Rachel sneered. Save me? By trading my location for 2 packs of cigarettes and a bottle of water? Your life sure is worth a lot. And you're at the shelter with your arms around other women. This is what you meant by looking for me this whole time. Vincent's face went white. That was just an act. You're the only one in my heart. Stay with me. I'll make sure you live well. Rachel ignored him, briskly pulling his phone from his pocket. Unlock it. There's nothing worth seeing on there. Unlock it. Rachel's voice suddenly spiked sharp. Vincent hurriedly unlocked it. Pinned at the top of his WeChat was a group chat titled Young Model Resources Exchange. Rachel opened a voice message. That Rachel, acting all pure and untouchable, probably already been used up and thrown away by some boss by now. She then opened the private chat labeled Coleman, the most recent message dated the day before I'd rescued her. Brother Coleman, good news. I sent you Rachel's location. That thing you promised me. 2 packs of cigarettes and a bottle of water. The voice message finished playing. The air fell into dead silence. Vincent's face turned ashen, unable to force out another word. Rachel smashed the phone against his head, a wave of nausea churning in her stomach. She slowly raised the scalpel. Vincent looked toward me, silent, as if grasping for his very last straw. Brother, with skills like yours, join our Iron Shield Alliance. I know where there are gorgeous women too. Celebrities, influencers, campus belles. Take your pick. You. Shut your mouth. Rachel snapped, cutting him off with a furious shout. Fake purity? She'd been willing to risk her own life to save mine. Willing to burn through 10 years of her life without hesitation. Introducing me to other women? What gave him the right? I was the man she'd nearly died to save. Rachel abruptly stood, the blade's tip pointed dead at Vincent's throat. Rachel, don't be rash. Murder means paying with your own life. This is a shelter. If you kill me, they won't let you two stay here either. Rachel looked at me, but the hand gripping the scalpel had begun to tremble. It was a hand meant to save lives, one that had rescued countless people under the operating lights, but now it needed to spill the blood of one of her own kind. She burst into tears. Ethan, I know he deserves to die, but I can't bring myself to do it. My scalpel is meant for saving people. Delight erupted in Vincent's eyes. Rachel had softened. There was still a chance for him. Brother, look, she's just a soft-hearted woman. Let me go, and I'll make sure you become a squad leader. He grew more excited the more he talked. Women, Boss Red's got a minor celebrity. Say the word, and she'll come keep you company tonight. Rachel's head snapped up abruptly, her reddened eyes burning with pure possessiveness. This disgusting creature, daring to dangle filthy women in front of her, right to my face, to tempt me? My man isn't something for you to arrange. Before she'd even finished, she struck. The scalpel in her hand was no longer a sacred tool of healing. Without a shred of hesitation, shoo! A cold glint sliced precisely across the side of Vincent's neck. Fast, precise, ruthless. The obsequious smile on Vincent's face froze instantly, his throat only able to force out a wheezing gurgle. Warm blood sprayed across her pale cheeks. Her chest heaved violently, breath coming in ragged gasps. I stubbed out my cigarette, walked over, picked up the blood-stained scalpel, and handed it back to her. You don't need to be like me. You're Rachel. You're a doctor. That's enough. It's still the same knife. Whether you use it to save lives or take them, that choice is yours. He deserved it. You killed him. That's just. Rachel gripped the handle tightly, hesitating before asking. Ethan, if I hadn't killed him, would you have thrown me out? Yes. I remained just as calm. But I knew you'd do it. Next time, just use the gun. It's less effort. She acknowledged, as if everything had finally been let go, and threw herself into my arms. The crying started again, but this time, not from pain, from release, from growth. In the distance, more screams echoed from deep within the shelter, all muffled and swallowed by the heavy container walls. Half an hour later, I got up. I'll head out, deal with this guy's body. Lock the door, keep the gun close, watch over Rosie. I lifted Vincent's corpse single-handed, dragging it out of the container like garbage, and stuffed it into an abandoned oil drum. Then I headed to the steel storage yard. Under metal resonance's perception, every piece of metal within 10 yards registered clearly in my mind. I walked up to a pile of low-grade rebar and pressed my hand against it. Decomposition rate approximately 4 pounds per second, estimated time, 11 seconds. The simpler and lower grade the metal, the faster the decomposition, which, for me, desperately needing fortress points, worked in my favor. Fortress heart, decompose. Decomposition successful. Fortress points gained, 22. Solid efficiency. I moved through the steel yard at high speed like a tireless human shredder. Everywhere my hands passed, rebar after rebar, angle iron after angle iron, vanished silently into nothing. I didn't fixate on any single pile. Draining too much of one type of material would draw attention. Fortress points climbed rapidly. 600, 800, 1,000, 1,200. Sweat quickly soaked my forehead. Continuous decomposition began chipping away at my nerves with fatigue. By the time the points reached 1,400, an overwhelming wave of exhaustion and hunger hit me at once. 1,400 points, that should be enough. I rolled my stiff neck and turned to head back toward the container. Just as I stepped inside, metal resonance picked up a strange signal. My pupils constricted sharply. Someone was holding a pistol. Not Rachel. I just stepped into the container when a cold metallic sensation pressed against my temple. Holding the gun was, of all people, that petite figure who was supposed to still be unconscious, Rosie, standing on her tiptoes, her slender hands gripping a standard-issue pistol tight, her voice weak but resolute. Don't move. You villain. Let me and that pretty lady go. Rachel, on the bed, called out urgently. Rosie, don't be rash. Ethan's not a bad person. He saved us. Rosie wasn't listening at all, the muzzle wavering. Pretty lady, don't be scared. I saw and heard everything. He was hurting you so bad earlier. You said no. You said he's going to kill me. He's got to be the bad guy. I'm going to save you. Rachel's face flushed instantly bright red, and she yanked the thin blanket up to cover her whole face. Had this little girl really heard all that embarrassing stuff? I looked at this absurd scene, the corner of my mouth twitching almost imperceptibly, not nervous at all, actually finding it a little funny. I ignored the black muzzle pointed at me and walked straight to the supply bin, digging through it. Hey, I told you not to move. I really will shoot. I didn't even look up, pulling out a self-heating military ration pack and tearing open the water activation seal. White steam hissed out, a rich, overpowering aroma instantly filling the air. The words, beef hot pot, on the packaging stood out sharply. That smell was an absolute killer for Rosie, starving for who knew how long. Hey, big bad wolf, are you even listening? I'm pointing a gun at you. I slowly turned around, looking at her calmly. So, could you show a little respect to that gun? What do you mean? Safety's not even on. Rosie instinctively looked down at the gun in her hand. In that instant she was distracted, I moved. She only felt a blur before her eyes, her wrist going numb, and the gun changed hands, landing steadily in mine. My gun. Rosie jumped up trying to grab it back, but she stood barely over 5 feet tall. I casually lifted my arm high, and she could only flail her tiny arms uselessly, stomping her foot in frustration. I tossed the gun aside like garbage, up onto a high shelf, and kept stirring that steaming, bubbling pot of hot pot. Rosie, not one to give up, closed her eyes and focused. Infiltrate. Take control. Make every electronic device in here attack this big bad wolf. The container fell into dead silence. Nothing but the hissing sound of the ration pack heating up. A flicker of panic crossed Rosie's eyes. Phones. Tablets. Laptops. Nothing but silence all around. Not a single electronic signal responding. Has my talent failed? She said, her voice starting to crack. Don't bother looking. Every electronic device is in there, powered down. I pointed at the metal toolbox with the mechanical padlock. You're despicable. Rosie's eyes swept to the minivan blocking the door and lit up. She closed her eyes again, hands aimed at the minivan, in the posture of controlling it. 1 second, 2 seconds. The minivan didn't respond at all. Why isn't it working? Rosie was on the verge of a meltdown. I didn't look up, spearing a piece of beef and blowing on it. Gas-powered. No smart driving system. Rosie stared at me blankly, and then, finally, her stomach betrayed her with a loud, unmistakable growl. To evade capture, Rosie hadn't eaten anything decent in 2 days. Wronged, defeated, starving. All of it crashed down on her at once, the final straw that broke her. Wah-huh. She dropped straight to the floor, hugging her knees, sobbing loudly. Rachel hesitated, then handed over a tissue. Wipe your face. Rosie looked up, her whole face full of grievance. He's bullying me. He won't even give me food. I finally turned my gaze to her. Want food? Sure. Trade for it. I don't have anything. You do. Your talent, at least A tier, right? Little bear, Rosie. Rosie's eyes went wide with alarm. How do you know that? The Falcon Alliance sent an elite squad, full standard gear, just to capture you alone. Those drones, the earpieces, and that Tesla that crashed into the store on its own back there. All your handiwork. Tell me, what's your talent? Rosie eyed me warily. Why would I tell you? Are you trying to catch me and cash in the bounty? I sneered. Bounty? You think I need to catch you to earn something like that? I gestured at the mountain of weapons and supplies piled up. I'm not catching you. Doesn't mean no one else wants to. There's an Iron Shield Alliance boss called Red out there, B-tier talent, hundreds of men under him. If he found out there's a talent user hacker kid hiding in this shelter, what do you think he'd do? They'd treat you as a tool, force you to hack systems, steal intel, until your mental strength runs completely dry. You think you'd fare better in their hands than mine? The scenario I described was exactly what Rosie feared most. I pointed at the steaming pot of hot pot. Stick with me, and at least you'll eat well, have a place to sleep. Dr. Rachel here will take care of you. Rachel offered a gentle smile right on cue. Rosie, don't be scared. Ethan's methods are a little direct, but he's not a bad person. Rosie looked at that deadly, tempting pot of hot pot, her stomach growling again, and finally gave in to reality. My talent is called electronic interaction. S tier. 3 abilities. Data manipulation. Touching an electronic device with my finger lets me read its data, but using it continuously for over 3 minutes gives me nosebleeds. Information visualization. I can turn people, zombies, terrain I see into data streams, but it's exhausting. Consciousness infiltration. I can control phones, cameras, drones, even smart cars within a certain range, but my body's completely unguarded while I do it. I listened, thoughtful. Intel gathering, battlefield awareness, remote control. This was practically a strategic level support ability. No wonder the Falcon Alliance had gone to such lengths to hunt her down. And the cost is mental strength depletion, nosebleeds, or straight up passing out. I confirmed. Rosie nodded, looking pitifully at the hot pot. And I get hungry really easily too. I pushed the beef hot pot toward her and pulled a cracked screen old phone from the tool bag, tossing it at her feet. Use your data manipulation. Read out the last WeChat message on this. If you can't read it, or if you lie to me. My right hand had already settled onto my pistol grip. Rosie extended a slightly trembling hand, closed her eyes, and sensed. A few seconds later, she opened her eyes. It's from someone named Scarface. Target Little Bear has been abducted by an unknown force. They're monsters. The squad's completely wiped. It cuts off after that. The content matched perfectly. I let go of the gun. Eat. Rosie, as if granted a pardon, dove into the hot pot, devouring it hungrily, tears falling again, this time from being fed. My goal was achieved. Threat, incentive, verification, 3 steps complete. This S-tier hacker kid wasn't going anywhere for now. Rosie, wolfing down her food, was already scheming quietly in her head. Pretend to be obedient for now, and once she recovered her strength, cozy up to the pretty lady, find a chance to escape. A flicker of cunning crossed her amber eyes, and then she buried her head back into her fight with the beef. Once she'd eaten her fill, I handed her tablet back to her. See if it still works. I need a floor plan of the building materials market and information. Rosie, resigned to her fate, powered it on, and a massive stream of data appeared on the screen. A few seconds later, my WeChat friends list had a new contact, Little Bear. She'd hacked straight into the WeChat system in mere minutes. This kid genuinely had skills. A detailed map, labeled with every shop's business, appeared in my chat window. Excellent. You keep watch over her. Take care of her injuries. I'll take the night watch. Back in the driver's seat, I pulled up the vehicle upgrade panel, scanning over the ever-growing pile of supplies behind me and the potential future teammates yet to join. Confirm consuming 1,000 points. Proceed with space fold upgrade. A mercury-like faint glow rippled through the minivan's interior. The trunk space stretched. Ammunition crates piled to the ceiling slowly sank into the floor, forming hidden storage compartments. 60 minutes later, the interior space had visibly doubled. Even the passenger seat could now fit 2 people. Rosie finished sorting her info and came to the back of the car, her eyes going wide, her entire worldview taking a hit. This doesn't make sense. Spatial curvature interference? 4-dimensional compression technology. I cut off her budding academic meltdown. Quiet. What is it? Here, this is the info you wanted. Everything on Red, plus a sighting log of the elite zombie. Given how flashy Red's operation was, information on him was practically an encyclopedia entry. What interested me more was that elite zombie. According to the model Rosie built, the elite zombie's existence was 98.5% probable. Over the following 2 days, I spent about 10 minutes each day going out, decomposing steel at high intensity, immediately replenishing whenever my mental strength dropped past half. Fortress points climbed rapidly. For 120, 780, 1120, 1580, 2150, 2580. By the evening of the 3rd day, I stopped. Current fortress points remaining, 2,928. Even more than I'd expected. I dragged my exhausted steps back to the container. Rosie sat hugging her knees on the bed, sulking. You're back? Must be worn out. Drink some water first, Rachel said, handing over a bottle. Through life insight, she'd noticed that every time I went out, no more than 10 or 15 minutes passed before my mental strength was completely drained. It was hard to imagine what I'd been through out there, given that this was the man who could go 2+ hours in bed with her. Rosie glared at me, puffing her cheeks. Humph. Big bad wolf. Capitalist. Exploiting child labor. How am I exploiting you? You made me hack into the building materials market server, activate the surveillance system, gave me another nosebleed. I glanced at her. Next time, know your limits. Your brain's worth a lot more than that pig snout of yours. Rosie, was that concern or an insult? I stopped paying attention to her sulking and pulled the car door open. Time to start the upgrade immediately. Firepower was essential for road safety. Dual weapon mounts would drastically improve my ability to respond to sudden threats. Ecological circulation was a longer-term investment. On long journeys, clean water and air were the bottom line for survival. Confirm upgrade. Consume 2,500 points. Add 2 weapon mounts and 2 circulation systems. The armor plates on both sides of the roof slid open rapidly, each rising into a rotating gun mount. Weapon integration upgrade complete. Left and right roof weapon mounts unlocked, compatible with light machine guns. I loaded the 2 standard-issue machine guns I'd seized earlier into the mounts. The minivan's whole demeanor had transformed completely. From the innocuous nation's favorite minivan into a steel beast crowned with twin horns. Rosie's eyes lit up. Whoa, a machine gun platform. She seemed to momentarily forget her grand escape plan. Next came the circulation systems. An hour and a half later, this mobile fortress had gained a basic ability to survive in harsh conditions. Circulation system upgrade complete. Air filtration removes harmful gases. Water circulation collects rainwater and condensation. At this point, the nearly 4,000 fortress points I'd accumulated over 3 days were basically spent. The nation's favorite minivan had truly undergone a complete transformation. Reinforced armor, spatial fold, a V6 engine, twin machine guns, ecological circulation. The prototype of a mobile war fortress had, at last, taken shape. Rachel and Rosie both stared, dumbstruck. Rachel was awed by transformations defying physics. Rosie's fingers traced invisible lines in the air, frantically taking mental notes and analyzing. This is your talent, Rachel murmured. I nodded, essentially confirming it. Just then, a commotion erupted outside the container. There's something in the oil drum. Damn it, it's a body. Look at the clothes. Isn't that Brother Vincent? A few of the night patrol guards had found Vincent's corpse stuffed in that discarded oil drum. Quick, report to Boss Red. Someone got Brother Vincent. Seal off the area. The killer's got to be nearby. The shouting rapidly grew closer. Rachel's expression shifted slightly, and she gripped the pistol at her side tighter. My eyes went cold, and I stood slowly, waving both of them toward the car. Trouble had come knocking, after all. Soon, 7 or 8 armed guards fanned out in a semicircle around us. Leading them was a bald man with a face full of hard muscle, codenamed Ironhead, one of Red's squad leaders. You in there? Get out. Did you kill Vincent? Trying to pull something on Boss Red's turf? You're sick of living. Hand over the weapon and the supplies, kowtow an apology, and maybe we'll let you off with your worthless lives. The air inside the container instantly went taut. Only I stayed cold as iron, unmoved. I willed the car to start. A roar. The Wuling Hongguang's engine burst into a roar far beyond its outward appearance. The seemingly clunky minivan lunged forward abruptly. Crash, with a hard brake, a beautiful fishtailing drift, and the rear of the car swept several of the approaching left flank guards clean off their feet. Damn it, you're actually fighting back? Open fire. Ironhead was first to pull the trigger. Rat-tat-tat, bullets sprayed at the minivan. The other guards opened fire too, sparks flying off the vehicle's surface. But the scene of the vehicle riddled with holes never materialized. The bullets only left faint white marks before bouncing away. What the hell kind of car is this? Get Boss Red on the line. Get a demolition team out here. Ironhead's eyes were practically bulging out of his skull. Survivors watching from a distance saw the Wuling Hongguang barreling through the hail of gunfire like an armored rhino, jaws dropping. Since when did a Wuling Hongguang get this insane? Look at the roof. Are those machine guns? As everyone talked over each other in shock, I drove straight for the densest cluster of guards. Rachel, left flank. Rosie, right flank. Open fire and suppress. The two of them stood beneath the roof-mounted machine guns, working the control sticks through the observation windows. Rachel's heart pounded wildly, her aim completely off, bullets kicking up dust at the guard's feet. Sis Rachel, aim for the people. Get M. Rosie had no psychological hang-ups at all, gleefully spraying bullets everywhere with excitement. But the vehicle was moving too fast, and both their aim was wildly off. Watching the ammunition drain away at that rate, my heart genuinely ached. Ironhead ducked behind an oil drum, cursing loudly. Terrible aim. Just two women, barely grown, and already trying to play with guns. Rosie's small face flushed with anger, and she looked at me, steadily steering the vehicle. Ethan, I can get some vehicle permissions. If you hand me control of the guns, I can make them auto-target, save ammo. You'd better decide fast. The demolition team's coming. Actually, these past few days, Rosie had tried more than once to hack into this vehicle's systems. But because my SSS tier talent held absolute control over the vehicle, every attempt had been flatly rejected. Central console, port. I said, brief and to the point. Rosie immediately lunged over, plugging the data cable into the dedicated port. User Little Bear is requesting weapon system access. Approve. The system prompt sounded in my mind. Approve. I answered without any hesitation. Rosie's fingers flew across the tablet, her expression focused and fervent. Access granted. Building target recognition algorithm. Simulating ballistics. Calibrating. Done. The mounting bases of both roof machine guns adjusted their angle on their own, locking onto the cover Ironhead and his men had taken. Target locked. Opening fire. Rosie's eyes flashed with satisfaction, and she swiped hard across the screen. Rat-hat-hat-hat. The two guns were no longer firing at random. They instantly burst into precise, steady crossfire. Bullets shot precisely toward the cover behind the oil drums, steel frames, at sharp, unpredictable angles, covering an incredibly wide field. My leg. This gun tracks on its own. Screams erupted one after another. One guard who poked his head out to fire back got shot straight through the skull. Another took a round straight to the stomach. The guards stared in terror at the two machine guns that seemed to possess a will of their own, and their last shred of courage collapsed entirely. They turned and ran. Ironhead hugged the ground tight, screaming into his radio. Monsters. That vehicle is a monster. Boss, they've got heavy firepower. The vehicle's armored. The guns fire on their own. Survivors watching from a distance were beyond stunned. Is that even a minivan anymore? A war machine. It's absolutely a war machine. Nice work, Rachel said, watching the area instantly clear out, looking at Rosie with an expression of pure disbelief. Just then, a violent engine roar rumbled closer from far away. A Hummer H2, welded with steel plates and battering rams, came charging out from deep within the market, engine screaming. According to the intel Rosie had given me, this was exactly the ride of the shelter's boss, Red. Red, B-tier talent, Berserker's blood. The more damage he took, the more his combat power increased. Behind the wheel, Red was massive, his skin taking on an unnaturally red hue, his eyes bloodshot. Damn it, you dare cause a scene on my turf. He floored the gas pedal. The Hummer, at over 50 miles an hour, slammed hard into the minivan from the side. Watch out, Rachel cried out in alarm. Both machine guns instantly swiveled toward the new target, firing off a few rounds, before Rosie hurried over. Not good. Ethan, Big Bad Wolf. We're out of ammo. 400 rounds of machine gun ammo, completely spent. Even if we wanted to restock, there wasn't time. I cranked the wheel hard to evade, but the minivan's power couldn't match the Hummer's. Crash. The Hummer's sharp battering ram slammed hard into the right rear door of the minivan. The whole car body was shoved hard to the left, the rear door caving in badly. This was the first time this vehicle had actually taken real damage. That impact made me feel, with painful clarity, the limits of its defense. Against this level of brute force collision, basic tier armor reinforcement just wasn't enough. Still, the Hummer's front end had also visibly deformed, and Red's forehead had split open, blood staining half his face. He licked at the blood on his lips, reversing to line up another ram. Die, damn you. The word die was still stuck in his throat when his wild laughter suddenly cut off. A sharp, piercing screech, echoing from deep within the building materials market, instantly overpowered every other sound. The savagery and bloodlust woven into that screech sent a chill through everyone present. The savage grin froze on Red's face, and he scrambled out of the vehicle, half tripping. It's here, drawn in by the gunfire. The moment he finished, a rumbling crash, closer and closer, brick walls collapsing, cars crushed flat wherever it passed. A dark shape flashed by, moving with astonishing speed, and the Hummer in front of it was instantly crushed into a slab of metal. Every survivor's expression froze in place, twisting into pure, absolute terror. A guard hiding behind a container didn't even have time to react before a massive scythe-like claw punched straight through his chest. Open fire. Ironhead grabbed his submachine gun and unloaded frantically. Bullets clanged off the dark shape, not leaving so much as a mark. That shadow abruptly turned its head, its blood-red compound eyes locking onto Ironhead. I finally got a clear look. This thing was, of all things, an enormous mutant metal mantis. Its legs launched it forward, lunging at Ironhead. Splat. A whole man was crushed flat like a stepped-on tomato, reduced to a smear of flesh. Monster. Run. The remaining guards completely fell apart. But that was only the beginning. With the giant mantis's roar, answering cries echoed from every direction. Cat-sized metal mantises of the same species poured out from every corner like a tide, lunging madly at every living thing in sight. Absolute hell on earth. Screams rose up one after another. Rachel's face went as pale as paper, her stomach twisting violently. Even Rosie's little face had gone deathly white. My voice cut through the chaos, ice cold and remarkably clear. Rosie, use your information visualization. Scan that big one. Rosie flinched hard, forcing herself to focus. Fine beads of sweat forming on her nose. Combat power value. Over 80 times an ordinary zombie's. Tier classification. Boss tier. 80 times. Boss tier. Rachel cried out in shock. This world's zombie classifications went ordinary, elite, boss, warlord, with each tier climbing tenfold in combat power. Boss tier. Not something an ordinary human could possibly stand against. Pooh. A mouthful of blood suddenly sprayed from Rosie's lips, her body going limp and collapsing. I quickly dug out a chocolate energy bar and stuffed it into her mouth. Hold it in your mouth. Don't swallow. Rosie barely managed to steady her mental strength, teetering on the edge of collapse, and leaned weakly against Rachel. Boss tier. The minivan's armor absolutely couldn't withstand a casual strike from this thing. That crushed Hummer was proof enough of that. Hold on. I threw it into reverse. Under environmental mimicry, the minivan moved like a silent ghost, weaving away from the crowd and the mantis swarm. Finally, without a sound, it slipped into a smart home appliance superstore. Stay quiet. Watch, I said, killing the engine. The cabin fell into dead silence. Nothing but that hellish soundscape drifting in from the distance. Through the window, we watched Red, surrounded by his inner circle, holding a gun on a group of trembling elderly people and children. All of you, get out there as bait. Anyone backs off, I'll shoot you myself, right now. An elderly woman clutched her granddaughter tight, pleading, spare my granddaughter, she's still so young. Bang. A gunshot answered her. The old woman fell, and the little girl was swallowed by the mantis swarm within moments. You animal, weren't you supposed to protect us? A middle-aged man roared, charging at Red, and was shot dead on the spot. Protect you? You're all just meat shields, expendable resources. Red commanded his men, driving the low-level survivors toward the mantis swarm like herding livestock, buying time for the demolition team. Sis Rachel. Rosie choked back a sob, watching the survivors being used as cannon fodder, torn apart. "This is the apocalypse," Rachel said, her voice hoarse. What she was witnessing completely shattered the last of her illusions about humanity. She finally, fully, understood my cold pragmatism now. In this world, weakness and naivety only turned you into meat on the cutting board. Survival of the fittest, there's no moral bottom line here. You two should eat something to keep your strength up. Might be our turn in a bit, I said, eating heartily as I spoke. The two of them exchanged a glance, then silently pulled out food and started eating. Only strength. Only someone who could master power like I did. Could survive, could protect the people worth protecting. Rachel unconsciously leaned closer to me, and Rosie quietly nestled up against Rachel too, her small hand grabbing at the hem of her jacket. The battle raged from deep in the night into dawn, relying on sheer numbers and reckless human shield tactics, plus the demolition team's frantic bombardment. They did manage to inflict serious damage on the mantis swarm. But the true threat, that boss-tier mantis, still stood in the center of the battlefield like a war god. Its shell was covered in scorch marks and cracks, one compound eye shattered, one foreleg joint blown off, badly wounded, but not fatally. "Hold the line." Red's voice trembled with both fear and madness. After weighing his options, he gave his final order: "Retreat. Demolition team, cover us. We're pulling out east with me." With that, he didn't spare his men fighting and bleeding a single backward glance, leaping into an armored vehicle and fleeing in a panic. "Boss Red's running. Don't leave us behind." With their command structure gone, the surviving crowd instantly collapsed, and the mantis swarm swallowed them whole. When the first faint light of dawn broke through the smoke, hundreds of human corpses lay mixed among thousands of mantis carcasses. Only that boss-tier mantis remained alive, its one remaining compound eye slowly sweeping across the corpse-strewn battlefield. Suddenly, that blood-red compound eye snapped around, locking onto the direction of the appliance store where our minivan was hidden. "It sees us. It's hurt. Drive quick." Rosie cried out with a sob. I didn't answer, both hands gripping the wheel, steady as an old dog, staring hard at that bloodied metal mantis. High risk meant high reward. Even an elite-tier scavenger had yielded a solid payoff. A boss-tier one. Wouldn't it be even better? Besides, I'd watched its fighting style all night. I had a solid grasp of how to take it down. Kill probability: 0.37%. Rosie's calculations trembled as she read the result. It's only got 31% health left, but its shell defense has only dropped by 35%. Our firepower can barely tickle it. Charging at it is suicide. "Sis Rachel, say something." Rosie panicked, tugging at Rachel's arm. Rachel's gaze had never left my profile the whole time. She took a deep breath and gently squeezed Rosie's small hand. "Rosie, don't be scared. I trust him. He's never let me down. If he's doing this, he must have a reason." That trust had already gone beyond reason. Even if I fell, she would burn her life source again without hesitation to save me. "It's coming." Rosie, scan the whole area behind us for anything with a battery, network connection, or remote control. Every smart device. Number, location. Now. Rosie, thrown off by the sudden order, nonetheless closed her eyes and channeled her talent with everything she had. Oh my God, the whole store behind us. Drones, robot vacuums, smart speakers, at least 300 units. Perfect. Take control of them. Just like at the supermarket. The corner of my mouth curled up, my eyes sharp as a hawk's. Rosie instantly understood my intent. "No way. Those devices are way too low-powered. They can't hurt it at all. Take control." "Now," I said, and the instant the words left my mouth, I floored the gas pedal. A hum, a roar. I cranked the wheel hard, fishtailing into the smart appliance superstore. Roar. The boss mantis, fully enraged now, charged headlong into the store, shelves collapsing, scattered smart devices strewn everywhere. "Rosie." Now, I wove through the store in a serpentine path, the mantis boss right on our tail. "Understood." Rosie gritted her teeth, pushing her S-tier talent to its absolute limit. Breaching protocols, acquiring maximum permissions, target locked on the metal mantis, suicide command, execute. A hum. Dozens of drones lifted off at once, streaking in from every direction, ramming into its one remaining compound eye. Though they couldn't inflict real damage, the dense, repeated impacts instantly disrupted its senses. Dozens of robot vacuums overclocked their motors, ramming madly into its jointed legs. And every electronic device it passed had its internal battery short-circuit and overload under Rosie's commands. Blinding electric sparks and small explosions erupted beneath its belly one after another, its massive frame stiffening for a moment. Roar. The mantis boss went into a total frenzy, hacking wildly at everything around it. Now's the moment. I stared hard at the load-bearing columns supporting the store's roof, right in the center of the building. Under the mantis's frantic attacks, that column was already covered in cracks, teetering on the edge of collapse. Rosie, detonate every device. Target, the load-bearing column. Rosie closed her eyes, tears mixing with the blood from her nose, and tapped her finger against the tablet. Every device under her control, as it neared the base of that column, had its lithium battery overload and explode instantly. The entire roof lost its most critical support point. Massive precast slabs, steel beams, and tons of merchandise crashed straight down onto the mantis boss. Roar! For the first time, terror flashed across the mantis boss's remaining eye. It tried to flee, but its damaged body couldn't maneuver in the cramped space. Dozens of tons of debris instantly buried it, leaving only one massive scythe arm and half its head exposed. I dashed to the edge of the wreckage, raising my right hand, silvery light gathering in my palm. The metal reaper's edge. After 10 seconds of charging, that blade had swelled to nearly 2 feet long, currents of near-liquid silver-white light rippling across it. Die! The fully charged reaper's edge, unleashed, tore through space in a streak of silver lightning as it left my hand. Shoo! The silver light drove precisely into the mantis boss's one remaining compound eye, obliterating its brain core, the remaining momentum punching straight through its skull and into the rubble beyond. That massive body, buried beneath the wreckage, lost every last trace of life. I dropped to one knee, gasping for breath. Using the Reaper's edge at its absolute limit had drained every last drop of my mental strength. In the car, Rosie's tablet clattered to the floor, blood from her nose staining her collar. Controlling hundreds of devices simultaneously had pushed her far beyond her own limits. Rachel didn't hesitate, throwing the door open and rushing straight toward me. Ethan, she activated Life Insight immediately, her gaze passing through my skin. Mental strength depleted, minor muscle tears, but no fatal injury. Confirmed there was no life-threatening danger, she finally relaxed a little. She reached out almost without hesitation, her palm glowing with the milky white light of life transfer. No need. I grabbed her wrist. I'm just out of mental strength. Rest will fix it. Your life transfer costs too much. Rachel looked at me, at the concern in my eyes, and warmth surged through her heart. Okay. She carefully helped me up. I forced through the exhaustion, my right hand covering itself in metal armament again, my 5 fingers sinking deep into the mantis's skull. Cradled in my palm was a walnut-sized crystal, swirling with a dark golden luster. A boss tier core. Gold type. A flash of satisfaction crossed my eyes. Combined with the earlier fire type core, I now had 2 cores in hand. Let's go, back to the car first. I nearly collapsed into the driver's seat, mumbling something about keep watch, stay alert, before sinking into a deep, unconscious sleep. Rachel confirmed I was just in a protective coma from mental exhaustion and let out a long breath, hooking me up to a nutrient 4. She gently stroked my forehead, her voice thick with tears. Idiot. Don't push yourself that hard again. But if there really were a next time, would burning through her own life source even matter? As long as it could save me, she'd accept it every time. The next morning, Rosie, in the back seat, slowly opened her eyes, memories flooding back like a tide. She saw me still fast asleep in the driver's seat, and Rachel, in the passenger seat, gripping her pistol, looking utterly exhausted. Rosie's little brain immediately started calculating at top speed. She scooted over next to Rachel, lowering her voice. Sis Rachel, this is our chance. Look, that big bad wolf sleeping like a dead pig. Let's tie him up quick. The military's recruiting in the major safe zones, especially need doctors and IT talent. You're an A-tier medical talent. I'm an S-tier hacker. If we team up and go to the military, we'll definitely be valued. Staying with this big bad wolf is way too dangerous. Rosie grew more and more excited as she talked, even starting to dig around for rope. Rachel watched her quietly, the gentleness on her face slowly fading, replaced by something ice-cold. Rosie. Rachel's voice was calm, but absolutely non-negotiable. Quick, help me find some rope. Rosie didn't even look up. No need to look. Rachel stood, pulled out a roll of electrical tape, and in a few quick motions, bound Rosie's hands behind her back. Rosie was completely dumbfounded. Sis Rachel, what are you doing? I'm doing this for your own good. Rachel cut her off, her eyes sharp as blades. Quiet. Don't try to talk me out of this. My whole self belongs to Ethan. I only trust him. That line landed like a thunderclap. Rosie stared blankly at that face, usually so gentle, now written entirely with resolve and a sense of belonging. Rosie's small face flushed instantly, her amber eyes going wide. Ew. You mean he's already done that to you? Rachel's cheeks flushed slightly, but she nodded, calm and open about it. Rosie looked as if a whole new world had just opened up before her. Every plan of escape instantly forgotten, replaced by a blazing fire of curiosity. She fired off question after question, rapid fire, leaving Rachel red-faced and flustered. Rachel glared at her, embarrassed and exasperated. You're just a young girl. Why are you asking about all this? This kid might be innocent, but her theoretical knowledge was terrifyingly extensive. Rosie said, perfectly self-righteous. It's an academic discussion. Practice makes perfect. Rachel was so exasperated she didn't know whether to laugh or scold her, and was just about to snap at her when a low, hoarse voice drifted over from the driver's seat. What are you asking so much for? The air in the car seemed to freeze solid. Rosie stiffened, slowly turning her head to meet my faintly amused gaze. Sue, Ethan, big bad wolf. When did you wake up? Rosie's voice cracked, her small face draining white. Trying to turn her against me, tie me up together, then run off and join the military? I finished for her, my tone as flat as if we were discussing the weather. Rosie's heart sank straight to the bottom. It was over. This was it. She was definitely getting tossed out to feed the zombies now. I moved around to the back seat. Rosie squeezed her eyes shut in terror. But the punishment she'd braced for never came. She only felt her wrists loosen, the binding released. I tossed her teddy bear backpack into her lap and pulled open the sliding door. Rosie, you're free to go. You helped with the mantis fight earlier. That settles the debt. I don't like owing people. Go on. The military safe zone is about 20 miles east of here. With your hacking skills, sneaking in shouldn't be hard. Rosie looked at the open door, at the danger-riddled ruins outside, the distant howls of zombies now clearer than ever. Sending her out to walk 20 miles alone right now. How was that any different from sending her to her death? Rosie stammered, all her earlier bravado completely gone. Rachel could tell I was just bluffing the kid, and played along. Sue, Ethan, isn't this a little much? She's just a young girl. Turning her loose is basically a death sentence. As if to prove the point, zombie growls sounded right outside the car door, sounding like more than one, closing in fast. Oh, Rosie shrieked in terror, scrambling and stumbling to slam the door shut with a bang. Ethan, big bad wolf. Can we talk this out? Just drop me off somewhere near military territory. I promise I won't cause trouble. I turned, a hint of mockery in my expression. No can do. We're even now. Get out. I made a move toward the door again. Rosie, scared out of her wits, clung tight to my arm. Don't open the door. Or, could I stay with you? Like Sis Rachel? Please, I'm begging you. I looked down at Rosie hanging off my arm. That face still carrying traces of childhood innocence, my gaze calm. You're still a kid. Staying is fine. Don't think about anything else. Rosie froze for a second, then burst into loud tears. Wah. You're both bullying me. Rachel, both amused and touched, quickly pulled her into a hug, patting her back to comfort her. I didn't look at her any longer, bending down to drag a heavy ammunition crate out from under the seat, popping it open with a clang. Inside were several well-maintained standard-issue rifles and boxes of golden bullets. Rosie's crying cut off abruptly, and she stared, tear-streaked, at the weapons. Recognize any of these? I pushed the weapons toward her. As a top-tier hacker, she'd crammed some military knowledge too. Type 92 pistol, Type 95 assault rifle. Good eye? These were seized from the Falcon Alliance. The crew hunting you down, Derek's people. All standard military issue. You're a smart kid. Tell me, why would active-duty military equipment end up in the hands of a private militia controlled by a conglomerate? Why is Derek's family able to mobilize a well-trained squad just to capture one student, you? My voice was cold, each word landing squarely on her heart. Do you think the Derek family controls the military? Or is it that the military and the Derek family are simply working together? Once they find out this S-tier little bear is still alive and walks right into their hands, do you think the outcome would be any better than staying with me? Rosie went completely rigid, as if struck by lightning. That's right. She'd only thought about running, never once considering the darkness hidden behind the so-called official forces and safe zones in this collapsed world. That elite squad hunting her down, that standard-issue military gear. How had the Derek family gotten hold of it? Was the military really unaware, or did they simply turn a blind eye? Or worse, were they in on it together? If the military and the Derrick family were in cahoots, then running to the safe zone would be walking straight into the tiger's mouth. I hadn't been bluffing her at all. I'd been laying out a bloody, brutal fact. Rosie looked up at my still expressionless face, then at Rachel's worried one. All the grievance, the fear, the resentment. In that moment, it all dissolved into a deep sense of helplessness and a shiver of fear in hindsight. She took a deep breath, wiping away her tears in a messy rush, her voice carrying a note of resigned clarity. I'm not running anymore. Ethan, I'm with you. You protect me. I'll bring value to the team. My talent really is useful. You saw it yesterday too.